The story begins with the fact that Yuri's boyfriend really liked one girl, but after a while their relationship collapsed. The girlfriend shouted at the guy that he only thinks about himself and called him a selfish freak. 2 long years have passed since the breakup of the previous relationship. The main character gradually calmed down. Yuri noticed a familiar girl. He thought that something incredible had happened. The main character saw in front of him a beautiful girl with red hair. He decided that fate had given him a second chance. Lizzie was an exchange student from the UK. She told her friend that he was a little late. The main character thought excitedly to himself that this is a second chance, which he is happily missing. Lizzie told her friend that she wanted to buy him a watch. She added that they had been dating for 3 months. The girlfriend invited the guy to have dinner. Yuri thought to himself that their relationship would be unexpected for a guy like him. The main character happily thought that his girlfriend was an athlete. Yuri thought to himself that his girlfriend is also approximately a student. The guy knew that other boys were looking at his girlfriend. He realized that she was simply beautiful. Yuri knew that Lizzie was the ideal girl he would like to see every day. The chief remembered to himself an event that happened 3 months ago. Lizzie went up to the guy and said that she liked him. She invited him to meet. Yuri was standing in the school building with his girlfriend, then began what was later called the 8th wonder of the world of their school. Lizzie was sitting with her friend at the table. She asked him to say that he liked it here too. Yuri watched as his girlfriend held the cat in her arms. He didn't understand why she chose him. The main character was playing a computer game with his girlfriend. They were very happy. The girlfriend said with surprise to the guy that time flew by very quickly. He recalled that they met at 6. Lizzie suggested that her friend go and buy something to drink. The guy agreed with her. The girlfriend happily ran to the side and shouted to the guy that she would be back soon. Yuri remained sitting on the bench. Lizzie waved goodbye to her friend. He looked after her. Yuri also waved his hand to his girlfriend. He was glad that he could enjoy his everyday life. The main character did not know that big changes were coming in his life. An unfamiliar girl appeared nearby. A stranger with yellow hair approached the guy from behind. She studied him carefully. The girl asked the main character with great surprise if his name was Yuri. The main character thought to himself that he had enjoyed life exactly up to this moment. The guy confirmed that his name is Yuri. The girl happily replied that she was not mistaken. Stranger said her name was Benji and she was Lizzie's friend. Benji cheerfully asked the guy if she could sit next to him. The main character thought that his girlfriend's cousin Lizzie was sitting in front of him. The guy looked cheerfully at his new acquaintance. The girl sat and smiled at him. Yuri decided to himself that the girl Lizzie had all her relatives also beautiful. Benji looked at the main character with great attention and distrust. The guy realized that the girl was judging him. The girl displeasedly asked the guy if he was dating Lizzie. The main character was very surprised. Benji told the guy that she wanted to tell him something very unexpected. The girl, sitting on a bench, decided to very seriously ask the guy next to her for something. Benji pointed her finger at the main character and angrily demanded that he immediately break up with Lizzie. The guy fell silent. He never expected such a strict request from his new acquaintance. Yuri asked his friend what did she tell him. She repeated her request. Benji angrily asked the guy, does he really not like her? Yuri answered the girl in fear that he had misunderstood something. The interlocutor once again demanded that the guy break up with Lizzie. The interlocutor explained to the surprised guy that he was destroying the future. Lizzie demanded once again that he forget about the girl once and for all. Yuri calmly explained to his surprised interlocutor that she might be right. The main character very angrily told his interlocutor that he would never break up with Lizzie. Yuri explained to the girl that he and Lizzie loved each other and she was the first to invite him to date. Benji frowned. She told the guy that he left her no other choice. The girl shouted that she couldn't leave this. She tried to stab the guy with a knife. The girl angrily thought that if the guy didn't want to break up with Lizzie, she would kill him. The main character was surprised and looked with great excitement at the knife in his girlfriend's hand. Yuri fearfully thought to himself that all this is unreal and in the girl's hand he sees only a toy. Yuri touched the knife with his hand. He was surprised to notice that he had cut himself. Benji looked at the guy very angrily and said goodbye to him forever. The girl tried to stab the main character with a knife. He barely had time to deflect. Yuri jumped sharply to the side. He was very frightened and decided that his new acquaintance wanted to kill him. Unexpectedly the guy felt the girl fall silent. He opened his eyes in fear. Lizzie came up. She angrily grabbed the girl's hand and asked, "What is she doing with her boyfriend?" Lizzie unexpectedly and viciously called the girl Benji father. She still held it with her hand. Benji fell silent. She looked at the girl displeasedly and said nothing. Lizzie looked at her boyfriend with great excitement. She didn't know what to tell him. Lizzie once again asked her interlocutor angrily, what was she doing? The main character and the girl looked at Lizzie with a very surprised look. The two of them were silent. Yuri pointed a frightened finger at his interlocutor. He wanted to ask something. The main character asked Lizzie with great surprise, why does she call the girl father? Benji wanted to say that she was her friend's father. The main character was surprised. He could not understand how a child could be a father to someone. Lizzie threw the girl far to the side. She started saying something about relatives of relatives. Lizzie very displeasedly told her friend that it was very painful for her to look at her girlfriend. I asked the main character if he wanted to return home today. Lizzie managed to fight off the flying bullet with the card in her hand. She shouted to her friend that she would take Benji home. The main character looked in shock at the smoking card in his girlfriend's hand. Lizzie asked her friend if she really decided that she couldn't fight off a flying bullet. The main character was very scared. Lizzie told her interlocutor that this was the second time she wanted to kill someone who was not related to work. Lizzie said that if Benji didn't stop herself, then she would have to stop her. Lizzie told her interlocutor with a smile that all this was very reckless. Benji suggested to her friend that she tell the main character everything herself. Benji told her friend that she didn't want to tell the main character anything. The mercenary told the guy that he now realized that Lizzie was not the nice girl he started dating. Benji explained that Lizzie is a top-notch hitman. She is also the heiress of the Springfield family. This family are famous mercenaries. The girl said that Lizzie is her only child and heir. The Springfield family has a long history. To achieve the goal, mercenaries are ready to change their name or nationality. The Springfield family has been famous since ancient times. Mercenaries are a symbol of fear for everyone who was involved in the world offers. A family of killers carries out successful assassination attempts in every country in the world. Benji wanted to tell the main character everything about his girlfriend. The girl reported that the main character was dating the next heir to the Springfield family. She explained that Lizzie is a genius among geniuses. Benji asked the guy if he now understands who he was flirting with. The girl told the surprised guy that he was in no way suitable for this role. Benji, I asked my friend how she is in a relationship and at the same time does not reveal herself. A friend asked Lizzie, is a relationship with a guy worth that much? Benji asked her friend to come back. She added with a smile that she still had a lot to learn. The girl asked the main character if he understood everything this time. She added that all this concerns only their family. Benji told the main character very angrily that this time he would definitely die. The main character listened in surprise. A friend said that Lizzie is now standing at an intersection. She can choose life or death. The girl decided to try the answer. She walked towards Lizzie. The girl demanded a very quick answer from her interlocutor. She told strictly that their acquaintance could end here. Benji demanded that the girl tell her just one simple thing. The girl told the main character that life is very long. There's no reason for Lizzie to be his girlfriend. The main character remembered his past girlfriend. She shouted to him that he would die alone in Silvertown. Yuri thought dissatisfied to himself that he could not admit his feelings, even when it was mutual. The main character grabbed his face with his hand, very dissatisfied and disappointed. The guy decided to say something to the girls. They looked at him with great excitement. Yuri told his interlocutors that he is very shy. He added that he doesn't believe people who say they like him. The guy said shyly that he might never have such a chance again. The main character felt confident. He realized that he could not agree to Benji's proposal. Yuri shouted loudly that he would rather die than refuse. He will continue to date Lizzie. The main character told his girlfriend in surprise that he still doesn't know much about her. Yuri shouted that all this is not very important. Benji listened to him very carefully. Yuri said that if Lizzie has a secret, he's not the least bit interested. Benji was very disappointed. The girl angrily shouted to the guy that if he wanted, she would kill him right now. The girl was very surprised. She rummaged through her clothes to find a weapon. Lizzie came up. She grabbed her friend's hand and asked if she heard the guy's words. Lizzie told her friend that she had nothing else to do here. She added that she should leave. The mercenary began to resist. She tried to hit the girl. Lizzie was very deftly able to block her opponent's blow with her hands. Lizzie grabbed the girl's hand with her hands to hold her back. Benji decided to try to free herself. She kicked off the ground with all her might. The girl jumped up and, while jumping, kicked her opponent with all her might. Benji angrily asked my friend if she was really going to continue to behave like this. Lizzie told her rival that she couldn't beat her and therefore wanted to take it out on her boyfriend. The main character stood scared behind his girlfriend. Lizzie angrily shouted to her interlocutor that her boyfriend had not succumbed to her intimidation. Lizzie asked the mercenary, did she really decide to go against her? Benji thought about it. She was very deeply affected by the words of her interlocutor. Unexpectedly, the mercenary asked Lizzie if she would really be okay. The rival told the girl that she now looks like a child who is absorbed in the defense of the hamster. Benji told the girl that what matters is how many times she tells herself that she can keep the hamster safe. The hamster became wary. He looked at the approaching man with great attention. Lizzie told her friend that there was no way she could physically protect the hamster. Benji told her interlocutor very angrily that everything would be exactly like this. Lizzie angrily asked her rival, who will die now? Lizzie told her dissatisfied interlocutor that the guy Yuri will continue to live the way he lives now. Lizzie sternly said that Yuri would not receive a single wound, no matter how hard Benji tries. The girl looked very sternly at her rival and said that everything would be so. The mercenary fell silent. She pondered the words she heard with great surprise. Benji smiled evilly and slyly and said that she was very interested. The mercenary turned around. She told her interlocutor that she chooses comfort over convictions. Benji told her interlocutor that she would see if she could keep her word. The mercenary looked at her interlocutor and said that they would see how it all ended. Benji turned around and started to walk away. She shouted to her rival to try harder. The main character was very surprised. He looked with great bewilderment after the leaving girl. Yuri came to his senses. He looked at his girlfriend with a large and questioning gaze. The girlfriend asked the guy for forgiveness because she didn't tell him anything. The main character smiled. He realized that he now had nothing to worry about. Yuri said with a smile to his interlocutor that she did not need to apologize. He added that he would try to do everything to make sure everything goes well for them. Yuri said with a smile to her friend that she could do as she wanted. He added that he would follow him. The girl was very happy with these words. She smiled at her friend. Yuri pointed his finger after the departed mercenary. He told the girl that her father accepted his answer. Lizzie angrily grabbed the guy with her hands. She shouted that he knew nothing about her father. Unexpectedly, the girl became very worried. A very important thought came to her. Lizzie held the main character in her arms. She said something might happen to him. The girl looked carefully at the guy and said that something might happen to him tonight. Lizzie looked at the main character with excitement and said that they could sleep with him if he agreed. The main character was very excited. He was touched by the words of his girlfriend, who offered to spend the night with him. Yuri was surprised because the girl was going to sleep at his house. He remembered that he lived in a one-room apartment. The guy was very scared. He thought that something irreparable might happen. Yuri walked with his girlfriend and looked around. He tried to somehow distract himself. The guy and the girl approached the building. She asked if he lives here. Yuri replied that this was his house. Suddenly there was a very strong explosion. The house began to fall apart. The guy and his girlfriend saw a huge explosion and flash at the side of the house. A strong shock wave affected people. The girl was very scared. The main character was very upset. He realized that his house had just exploded. Yuri was very upset. The girl grabbed him and said that it was all too late. The main character was in despair. He fell to the ground. The girl did not understand why everything happened this way. Lizzie began to carefully look around. She noticed her rival standing nearby. The girl noticed how the mercenary nearby was peeking at her from around the corner. Benji was holding the remote control. She used it to blow up the house. Lizzie got angry. She didn't understand why the mercenary wanted to blow up a civilian. The girl got angry. She was very dissatisfied with the behavior of the mercenary. Lizzie looked at her frightened friend who was standing on the ground. The girl told the main character that they had no other choice. She offered to spend the night with her. The main character was very surprised. Benji heard the same words and she was also surprised. The main character's house was in ruins. He and his girlfriend went to her. Yuri came to his girlfriend. She had a very large and beautiful house. Lizzie, I asked my interlocutor why he was standing near the gate. She added that she felt embarrassed. The main character asked the girl shyly, can he really come in? The girlfriend did not understand what the guy meant. Lizzie said that she can't act calm when her boyfriend has nowhere to go to live. The girlfriend was standing near the gate. Yuri said very excitedly to his interlocutor that he had never been in the girl's room. The girl was surprised. She looked at her friend with great attention. Lizzie smiled. She realized that her friend was just worried. Yuri smiled and told the girl that she had nothing to worry about. Lizzie took the handle. The girlfriend told the main character not to worry. She added that nothing scares her. Lizzie opened the doors. She said that she is happy no matter who comes to her house. Yuri and his girlfriend entered the house. They were surprised to notice that Benji was sitting there. The main character and the girl were very surprised. They did not imagine that they would have a mercenary at home. Benji smiled evilly at the guests and said that her tea had already gotten cold while she was waiting for them. The mercenary said dissatisfied that her interlocutors returned home very late. Lizzie took off from her spot to hit her opponent. The girl attacked the mercenary. The cup with the drink flew off to the side. Benji asked her daughter very angrily, "Why does she do this?" Lizzie angrily asked the mercenary what she was doing here. The girl answered her interlocutor that she was very cruel. The girl angrily shouted that it was because of her that Yuri's house blew up into the air. The guest told her interlocutor in a calm voice that she did not come here because of her. The mercenary decided to explain to the girl in detail why she came here. Benji told the frightened protagonist that she had business with him. Lizzie bravely jumped out. She blocked her friend with her own hands. The mercenary told the girl to move away. Lizzie angrily replied that she would not move a single step. Benji wrapped her arms around her friend and pressed herself close to her. She decided to tell her something. The mercenary extended her hand to the main character and said calmly that she wanted to give him advice. Benji told the very surprised guy that even a person like him deserves a chance. The mercenary said that she behaves this way because she is worried about her daughter. This is her responsibility as a parent. Benji said that she doesn't want her daughter to become a widow because of a guy like Yuri. Mercenary asked the main character, will he be able to save himself when he is next to her daughter? Suddenly Benji extended her hand forward and said that there would be a 1-year sentence. The mercenary sternly told the guy that she would try to kill him for a whole year. She added that if the guy survives, she will accept him. Lizzie pushed her friend aside. She shouted at the guy not to listen to her. The main character was very sad. Benji asked the guy, is he really so weak that he wants to run away? The mercenary suggested to the main character that he could surrender right now. Yuri walked towards the girl. Benji suggested to the guy that he should give up Lizzie right now. The girl was very scared. She looked at her friend with great excitement. Yuri approached slowly and very calmly extended his hand to the mercenary. The main character told Benji that he completely agreed to her conditions. The girl smiled very much. She said that they would decide on this. Benji held the main character's hand. She said that they would try to get along. The mercenary added that they would try to get along over the next year under the same roof. The main character was thinking about his beloved girl, who turned out to be the daughter of a family of murderers. Yuri lay on the bed and tried to fall asleep. He knew that her friend's father did not accept their relationship, so now he lives with them. The main character was lying on the bed. He could not understand how all this would turn out further. Suddenly the blanket on the guy's body lifted. He was resting at that time. The girl looked under the blanket. She looked at the guy very angrily. The main character woke up. He felt to himself that there was someone under the sheet. Yuri was scared. He noticed someone else was on the bed next to him. Frightened guy at first he thought it was as if a pet had crawled under his blanket. The main character took a closer look. It seemed to him that Lizzie was under his blanket. Yuri began to thrash from side to side on the bed. He couldn't believe that all this was real. The main character heard a voice. The girl told him slyly that she knew what he was thinking about. Benji was lying under the blanket. She asked the guy slyly if it was too sexy. The main character was very surprised to see the girl under the blanket. The mercenary said that the guy has no vigilance, although they are hunting for his life. Benji swung the knife. She shouted to the guy that she would accept his miserable life. The main character dodged the mercenary in time. The knife hit next to his head. Benji was very surprised. She couldn't understand how the guy managed to evade. The girl stood up on the bed. She decided that the guy just accidentally dodged. Yuri was lying on the floor. The girl ran up to the guy from behind. She asked angrily, where was he going to go? The mercenary swung her knife. She told the guy that they weren't done with him yet. Benji asked the guy, is he really going to cry and ask for help now? Mercenary, she said that her daughter is in the shower now and she won't hear Yuri screams. Yuri unexpectedly told the very surprised girl that he would not do this. The main character excitedly shouted that he would not burden his girlfriend to protect him. Yuri told the mercenary that he must pass this test himself. The girl swung her hand to finish off the guy with a knife. Benji angrily shouted to the main character that she wanted to fulfill his wish. She almost finished off the guy with a knife. At this time Lizzie appeared. She kicked her attacker with all her might. Benji fell out of the window of the house outside. The girlfriend told the main character that she had gone out to take a shower, and when she returned, she noticed that someone had pointed a knife at him. Girlfriend asked the main character if everything was fine with him and if he was injured. The girl looked at her friend. She asked why he had that expression on his face. Lizzie ran out of the shower very quickly. She did not immediately realize that she was not dressed. The girl was very scared. Her body was barely covered with a towel. The girlfriend swung her hand and hit the guy with all her might. She angrily called him a pervert. Yuri flew into the wall at high speed. The girl screamed in fear that she didn't mean to. The guy was lying on the floor and couldn't come to his senses. His girlfriend called him excitedly. At that time, Benji appeared in the window. She told the main character that he saw the negative side of Lizzie, which he did not know about. The main character gathered his strength. He decided that he had to say something now. Yuri said happily that if a girl can defend herself, then this can be a reason to celebrate. Yuri said that if a guy is afraid of his girlfriend, then he has no right to be with her. Lizzie was very surprised by these words from her friend. She blushed with excitement. Benji got very angry and didn't like what the guy said. The mercenary thought to herself with displeasure that the main character was a weakling. The mercenary said that she would see how long the main character would last. The night has passed. Everything in the area was illuminated by the sun. The main character woke up and went to the bathroom. Yuri stood near the wash basin. He told himself that he still couldn't sleep after everything that happened. Lizzie's girl suddenly appeared. She said she was really exhausted from last night. The main character asked the girl, did she really not sleep all night? Lizzie told her friend not to worry. The girl looked carefully at her eyes in the mirror. She said that she could not establish her rest routine. The main character looked at his girlfriend. He couldn't take his eyes off her. Lizzie looked at herself in the mirror. She thought that if she continued to sleep poorly, her skin would get worse. Benji ran in. She asked the girl why she was still in the bathroom at this time. Lizzie asked her interlocutor why she was wearing a school uniform. Mercenary, I asked Lizzie if her school really doesn't have a uniform. The mercenary, standing on the threshold, said that she had already taken care of the documents for school. Lizzie was very surprised by the words she heard from her interlocutor. It was a clear day outside. Lizzie's girl was in the classroom. She was smiling and wearing a school uniform. The teacher told the children that a student from the UK had arrived as an exchange student. Benji looked at the students angrily. The teacher told the children to get along with each other. The main character was very scared. He was shaking with fear. He realized that he was in great danger. Lessons started at school. The girlfriend whispered to her boyfriend that everything should work out. Lizzie told the main character not to worry too much. She added that she would protect him from Benji. The girl turned to the side with displeasure. She said that something was really bothering her. Lizzie watched as there were a lot of guys around the girl. They all admired her. Schoolchildren stood around Benji. They were surprised that the girl learned Korean so well. The schoolgirl looked at her new friends and said that she could now enjoy talking with them. The guys were very amazed. They realized that the girl touched them very much. Lizzie felt very nauseous. She ran to the wall. The girl displeasedly told her friend that she was going to vomit. Lizzie explained that the guys had a very strong crush on the mercenary, since she uses special perfume. The girl said that the perfume is made by the Springfield family. Their aroma makes people lose their common sense. The main character looked away. He examined the Benji carefully. The schoolgirl smiled at the main character. She looked at him with a calm gaze. Yuri felt very hurt. He didn't like the girl's look. Lizzie looked sternly at her boyfriend. She was very unhappy. Benji was sitting at the table. There were a lot of schoolchildren around her. They were delighted with her. The main character looked closely. He noticed a bottle of perfume lying on the shelf under the desk. Main character was at study. He thought excitedly to himself that everything should be okay. During the lunch break, the students all went to the dining room together. Yuri brought food for his girlfriend. The girl shyly answered the guy that he didn't have to do this. The friend explained to the schoolboy that she was just sitting at the table here. Yuri told the girl that taking empty seats at the table was also an important task. Yuri told his girlfriend that he now knows what feelings she has for him. The main character told his girlfriend that he was very happy to do nice things for her. Lizzie looked away and told her friend not to say anything stupid. Unexpectedly, the girl became very worried. She looked attentively at the main character. Lizzie began to worry more and more. She saw a spoon in the guy's hands. Yuri held the spoon in front of him. He picked up some food and got ready to have lunch. The protagonist's hand was shaking. The girlfriend looked at him with excitement. The girl realized that she needed to act. She jumped onto the table and extended her hand to the guy. Lizzie showed with gestures to the main character that food should not be eaten in the dining room. Yuri, I asked the girl why it was impossible to eat food in the cafeteria. The girl replied that the food tasted strange. Lizzie thoughtfully told the guy that the food had a taste of some kind of spice. The girl thought. She looked away at the rest of the schoolchildren. Exhausted students were lying in the schoolyard. They all felt bad. Schoolchildren complained because they did not feel well. Someone was hot. The main character asked his girlfriend in fear what happened to the students. The girl told the main character that she immediately realized that there were problems with food. Yuri looked to the side very excitedly. He looked at his girlfriend. Lizzie said that Benji mixed pheromones with food and that's why it got this effect. The girl said excitedly that she only ate a spoonful of food. The main character was very excited. The main character extended his hand to the girl and asked if she was okay. Lizzie grabbed the guy's hand. He was very surprised and frightened. The girl was breathing heavily. He told a friend that she was now under the influence of the drug. She explained that she would not be able to restrain herself if he touched her now. The girl got up from the bench. She told her friend that they needed to find the culprit behind all this. The main character realized that only Benji could poison the food. He was ready to help his girlfriend. The main character invited the girl to go to the school building to class. Lizzie said that Benji's target was the main character. The girlfriend explained to the guy that he didn't have time to try the food. She warned that Yuri should still continue to defend himself. Lizzie explained that after taking the drug, symptoms appear. Their peak begins a few hours after consumption. The friend explained that the students are now in a bad situation. The main character asked what will happen at the peak. Lizzie explained that when symptoms reach their peak, people stop thinking straight. Students will not be able to control their love desires. The girl said it's sad that their school will be shown on the evening news today. Lizzie told the guy that there was another reason why they needed medicine. The girl explained that she, too, came under the influence of pheromones. She also has symptoms. Lizzie explained that they needed to stop Benji and take the medicine. The girl angrily told the guy that she too might lose her mind. Yuri was very worried. The main character recalled to himself the words of his girlfriend, who said that they were running out of time. Yuri ran along the school corridor with his girlfriend. He knew he needed to get to class quickly. The guy was straining with all his might. He realized that he didn't have much time. The main character looked at his girlfriend. He realized that he had to hurry before things got even worse. Yuri and his companion hurriedly ran into the classroom. The main character was very surprised. He noticed Benji sitting in the classroom. The mercenary looked with interest at the schoolchildren who ran in and said that they had finally come running. The schoolgirl said cheerfully that she was already starting to worry. Lizzie angrily shouted to her rival that she knew it was her doing. The girl was very angry. The main character asked his girlfriend with excitement if she was okay. Suddenly, Lizzie felt the drug begin to act on her body. Her friend was very scared. The mercenary took off. She dissatisfiedly asked her interlocutor, "Is she really looking down on her?" Lizzie angrily shouted at Benji that she was the one looking down on her. Lizzie explained that even if she was under the influence of the drug, it didn't matter to her. The mercenary calmly dodged the blow. She asked her rival in surprise, "Does this really not matter to her?" Benji looked angrily and told the girl that all this could be compared with yesterday's incident. The mercenary tried to kick her opponent with all her might. After the blow, the girl flew to the side with all her strength. There was a loud crash. Lizzie remembered her friend. She wanted to inquire about his condition. The main character was lying next to the new girl. She asked with excitement if he was doing well. Yuri began to gradually come into himself. He opened his eyes and looked at his girlfriend. The main character was very excited and scared. He realized that he was lying very close to his girlfriend. Yuri decided to explain everything to his friend in a frightened voice. He was very worried. The guy was lying on the floor. He called out very excitedly to his girlfriend. The girl told her friend that she couldn't do this anymore. The main character was surprised. Lizzie apologized to her boyfriend in a very broken voice. The girl shouted in fear at the main character that she could no longer hold back. Benji ran up from behind. She kicked the girl on the back with all her might. Lizzie fell unconscious to the floor. The main character looked at his girlfriend with fear. The mercenary told the main character that she assumed that he would not consume food in the dining room. Benji took the knife out of her sleeve. She told the guy that now no one can stop them. Benji angrily shouted to the frightened protagonist that the end had come for him. The mercenary very angrily called the frightened protagonist by name. Yuri looked with great skill at the girl who was lying on the floor. Lizzie lay completely unconscious and showed no signs of life. The main character remembered his girlfriend. Her image flashed through his memory. Yuri clenched his teeth out of excitement. He realized that he would have to fight off the mercenary. The main character very angrily shouted to the mercenary that he would no longer run away. Benji swung the knife. The main character shouted that this was all too much. Unexpectedly, the girl slipped on the body of the main character. She couldn't stand. Benji fell down. She did not have time to hit the main character with a knife. Yuri stood up from the floor. He was very impressed that he was able to defeat the girl so easily. In the classroom, a very strong roar was heard in the school building. The mercenary fell to the floor with a flourish, and at the same time the tables flew to the sides. Benji, lying on the floor, said dissatisfied to herself that she had screwed up. The main character was lying on an overturned desk. The girl sat next to him and looked at him. Benji thought to herself dissatisfied that she had made a ridiculous mistake. Suddenly the guy stood up. He rolled out from under the study table. A broken bottle lay next to him. Yuri stood up from his seat. He rubbed his bruised head. The mercenary looked at the main character with great excitement. The girl noticed that the drug from the bottle began to affect the guy. Yuri fell under the influence of the drug. He looked lovingly at the girl and called her. Benji was very scared. She realized that now the guy would look at her lovingly. Benji looked at the guy very scared. She didn't understand what was happening. The main character looked excitedly at his rival. Benji couldn't believe that all this was happening for Real. Benji was very worried. She couldn't even understand what was happening to the guy now. The mercenary looked at the guy. For some reason he seemed very nice to her. Benji told herself very angrily that she was talking nonsense. The mercenary realized that the guy was so transformed because he spilled the drug on his head. The girl grabbed the knife. She knew that the effect of the drug was temporary. The mercenary looked at the guy. She realized that he would not be able to escape now. Benji came close to the guy. She shouted that the end had come for him. The girl was holding a knife in her hands. She shouted to the main character that they had only known each other for a few days. The mercenary brandished her weapon and shouted to the guy that she wished him all the best. Suddenly the girl felt that she could no longer move her hand with the weapon. Benji looked at the guy. She shouted in a broken voice that she wished him all the best. Yuri looked at the girl with great excitement. He called her tenderly. The girl ran to the side. She screamed that this was not real. The main character was surprised. He could not understand what happened to the mercenary. Yuri looked away. He noticed a broken bottle lying on the floor. The main character thought. He began to understand what was happening now. Yuri looked at the inadequate girl. He remembered the recent words of his girlfriend. The main character said confidently to himself that now is not the time for him to doubt. The girl was sitting on the floor near a pile of chairs. She looked at the guy dissatisfied. Yuri approached the girl with a smile and shouted that he wanted to hug her. There was a broken bottle on the floor. The drug continued to affect the girl. Benji shouted that there are boundaries that cannot be violated. The main character was surprised to grab the mercenary in his arms. She didn't resist at all. Benji began to angrily wave her arms in all directions. She shouted to the main character that she wanted to kill him. The main character thought. He could not decide what to do in such a situation. Yuri addressed his interlocutor in a calm voice. The girl had tears in her eyes. The main character asked the mercenary to give him an antidote. The girl thought. She felt that she did not have the strength to hit the guy now. Benji was very surprised. She looked to the side very dissatisfied. The girl thought. She realized that she would need to fulfill the guy's request. Benji told the main character that he had won and now he can do as he wants. The mercenary told the surprised protagonist that there was one condition. The girl told the guy that she didn't want to get the antidote herself. Benji grabbed the guy's hand with her hand. The main character was very worried. The girl said that the guy would have to take the antidote with his own hand. Yuri was very scared. He realized that now he would have to do everything himself. Benji was still in the arms of the protagonist. She told him sternly that he would have to take it himself. Yuri scaredly asked his interlocutor, "Where does she want to put his hand?" The main character asked the girl very excitedly, "Did she really put the medicine there?" Yuri looked at the girl and realized in fear that he would not be able to do this. At this time the main character heard a noise from the side. He turned around in fear. The guy saw the bodies of schoolchildren lying all over the classroom. Yuri looked at the lying guys and realized that he had no other choice. The main character excitedly thought to himself that he doesn't want all this. Yuri decided to himself that he had to do this for everyone else's sake. The main character asked the girl not to make such strange sounds. At this time Lizzie came to her senses. She looked around and asked herself, "Did she faint?" The girl was very surprised. She looked closely at the main character and Benji. Lizzie got angry. She noticed how the main character tried to put his hand into the mercenary. Lizzie ran up and viciously beat up the main character and Benji. She asked angrily, "What are they doing here?" As a result, all students in the school received a dose of medication to counteract the pheromone effect. The students' memories were erased. They were heading home after school. Benji did not take pheromones directly. Everything that happened will be remembered for a long time. At this time someone approached the girl and asked if everything was going the way she wanted. Benji turned to the side in surprise. She didn't know who approached her. The mercenary noticed a stranger standing next to her. She didn't understand who she was. Benji was lying on her bed. She recalled with displeasure that the main character made her behave so outrageously. The mercenary was unhappy because she suffered because of her own spirits. Someone came from the side and told the boss that he was very worried. A girl came up from the side and told the boss that she had a very important message. The guest said that something important had happened at their academy and they needed help. Benji told her interlocutor that she is very busy right now. The guest reported that there was a direct order from the madam. Benji asked in surprise, "Did Elizabeth really say this?" The mercenary got angry. She spun around on the bed and shouted that she couldn't even stop her daughter from falling in love with a guy. The guest told the boss that she could help him. Benji told her interlocutor that she herself could not do this and asked how she could do it. The guest handed the girl a notepad. She said Lizzie used to hide it. Benji began to carefully leaf through and study the notebook. She said there were some interesting things written there. The mercenary was very happy. She was very interested in the notes. Benji noticed information about the main character in the notebook. She said it was all very interesting. The inhabitants of the house were very surprised when Benji told them that she would be gone for the whole weekend. Benji told her surprised interlocutors that they had heard right. She added that some work had come up. The main character asked the mercenary, "What is her job?" Benji asked her interlocutor dissatisfied, "Has he forgotten what they do for a living?" Lizzie asked her interlocutor sternly if she was lying now. Benji replied with a smile that she never lied about work. Lizzie shouted happily that they would spend the weekend without the nasty mercenary. Yuri said happily to himself that his girlfriend reacted more energetically than he expected. Benji, she said she'll be gone for 3 days. Benji told her interlocutors not to do anything stupid while she was gone. Lizzie said her boyfriend wasn't the kind of person to worry about. Benji thought about it. She looked at the girl in front of her with great surprise. The mercenary told her interlocutors that even if they had wanted to, they would not have succeeded. Benji turned around and told her friends at the door that she was leaving. The door slammed shut. The main character thought. He was very much touched and interested in the girl's words. Benji turned to his girlfriend with excitement. She bounced off somewhere. Suddenly Lizzie suddenly attacked and hugged her friend from the side. Yuri asked his friend with excitement, what came over her? The girl told the guy that she could hug him without worrying that her father was somewhere nearby. The girl pressed herself closely to her friend. The guy felt strong feelings. Yuri went in different directions with his girlfriend. They were very much embarrassed. The guy thought to himself that Lizzie couldn't relax from the moment her father arrived here. The main character thought to himself excitedly that his girlfriend was always trying to protect him. The guy remembered that Lizzie didn't even have time to relax. Yuri turned around. He silently and with great attention looked at his girlfriend. The main character decided to himself that he would do everything possible for the girl. Yuri addressed his girlfriend very slyly. he decided to have fun with her. The main character reminded the girl that they have the whole weekend. At this time a bullet flew into the room. Yuri and the girl were very scared, they looked at each other in surprise. The main character turned around, he again noticed how the bullet hole was smoking in the floor. The guy and the girl turned around and noticed a hole in the window from a flying bullet. The girl became very angry, she realized it was Benji who was shooting. Lizzie looked angrily at the bullet hole in the floor, she shouted that the mercenary had lied to them about the job. The girl shouted that she would come out now and deal with Benji. The guy told his girlfriend that she needed to calm down first. Lizzie slammed the front door, she told the guy to stay in the house. The main character became worried, he realized that he would have to stay on his own now. Yuri looked at the bullet hole in the floor with great attention, smoke came from there. Lizzie realized very clearly to herself that they were being shot at from the top of the bell tower. The girl very slowly climbed to the top of the tower, she was looking for Strelick there. Lizzie stood and looked around very carefully, she listened. The girl realized that the mercenary had to hide behind a large bell. Lizzie came up and sternly shouted to the criminal to come out quickly. The stranger with purple hair just smiled to herself. The girl said calmly in response that Lizzie is the daughter of the leader of the Springfield family. The stranger told her interlocutor very precisely how much time had passed since their last meeting. The mercenary stood and looked attentively at the girl, she called her a rival. The stranger opened her umbrella, she looked attentively at her rival. Mercenary with an umbrella in her hand said that her rival was Lizzie Springfield. Lizzie looked with great excitement at her rival with an umbrella in her hands. The girl fearfully named the name of her old acquaintance, the mercenary Wicca. The mercenary said with a smile to Lizzie that she had improved a lot since their last meeting. Lizzie told her rival that for some reason she had lost weight. Vicky was very angry at these words. Lizzie angrily told her interlocutor that she was still attending a regular school. The mercenary pulled the shutter in her umbrella and pointed it at her rival. She asked the angry girl what they taught her in a regular school. Lizzie jumped to the side in time and dodged the shot. The rival shouted to the girl that she thought she was going to a special school. Vicky continued to fire, she asked the girl to show her what she was capable of. Lizzie hid behind the wall, she went outside without a weapon, because she thought that her father had attacked them. In the end it turned out that she was a mercenary. The girl carefully looked out from around the corner. The mercenary shouted to her interlocutor that she had wasted her boss's time. Vicky said very angrily that she met the heir of the Springfield family in such a place. The mercenary promised the girl that she was not as kind as their boss. She added that she would kill the girl after dealing with her boyfriend. Vicky immediately opened fire on her rival with her weapon. The mercenary was very surprised, she noticed that the girl was not afraid of her and came out of her hiding place. Lizzie looked sternly at her rival and said that she would not allow this. The girl warned the mercenary, she said that if she touched her boyfriend, she would not hold back. Vicky was very angrily surprised, she asked her interlocutor who she was going to restrain. The mercenary continued to shoot, she shouted to her rival that she had degenerated lately. Lizzie continued to deflect bullets. Vicky noticed with great excitement as the girl took out her battle card. Lizzie accelerated, she decided to hit her opponent at full speed. Vicky continued to shoot from her weapon at her rival running towards her. Lizzie fought off all the bullets and hit the mercenary with a flourish, she wanted to grab her umbrella. Lizzie grabbed her umbrella in a professional move to protect herself from the shots. The girl knocked the mercenary to the floor, she was holding her umbrella in her hands. Lizzie held her card up to her very scared opponent's head. The girl angrily asked her rival, what did she say about degradation? Lizzie shouted to the mercenary that she could harm her as soon as she wanted. The girl told the mercenary that she wanted to send her home safe and sound, she advised that Vicky should go home. The mercenary grinned displeasedly, she said dissatisfied to her interlocutor that she always behaves like this with other people. Vicky accused her interlocutor of always pretending to be kind. The mercenary took a knife from the handle of her umbrella, she prepared to hit her opponent. Vicky shouted angrily that people like Lizzie are always called defective. The battle between the mercenary and Lizzie is over. At the top of the bell tower, only bird cries were heard. Yuri was sitting at home, he couldn't figure out where his girlfriend Lizzie had gone. The main character sat and looked at the hole in the floor. He remembered that his girlfriend's father always deceives everyone. Yuri thought to himself that his girlfriend's father wouldn't lie so blatantly. The main character thought that perhaps Lizzie's father was fulfilling his insidious plan in this way. The doorbell rang, the main character decided that it was his girlfriend who came. He opened the door and asked, "What happened?" The guy saw an unfamiliar girl. She greeted him with a smile. Guards stood in the distance. The main character was surprised. He could not understand who was standing in front of him here. Vicky with a smile told the main character that he should go with them. The chief was surprised. He could not understand what kind of people came to him. Yuri, accompanied by his new acquaintances, was driving at full speed in a car. Vicky asked the guy for forgiveness for arriving at his place without warning. She explained that all this was very urgent. The main character looked at his companions with great surprise and fear. The men in the front seats turned around and looked at the guy sternly. The girl told the frightened Yuri that she did not want to harm him. The main character told his interlocutor that he needed to return because his girlfriend was waiting for him. Vicky told the surprised protagonist that Lizzie was already waiting for him. The guy asked his interlocutor, "Does she really know Lizzie?" The girl replied that she would introduce herself now. The girl extended her hand to the guy and said that she was Lizzie's former roommate. She was also a student at the Springfield Assassination Academy. The interlocutor told the main character that her name is Victoria. She added that she wanted to discuss Lizzie's secrets with him. Benji was flying in a private jet over the Gulf of Mexico. She asked her subordinates to show her the data. The interlocutor asked the mercenary, why does she need information about her daughter? Benji looked at the documents. She said she wanted to confirm something. The mercenary was handed all the documents she needed. Benji carefully studied the documents. They interested her very much. The mercenary realized that Lizzie was completely sure that she was thinking through her escape plan. Suddenly Benji noticed something interesting in the documents. She became interested. The mercenary noticed the chemical formula. She didn't know that Lizzie had something dangerous with her. Benji continued to sit and study the documents with great attention. The girl told herself that she was very interested in what was happening all this time. Benji said to herself that her daughter had prepared very carefully. The main character was sitting at a large table in some mansion. Servants served food. Victoria got ready to eat. She asked the guy why he was so nervous. The interlocutor smiled at the guy and said that there was no reason to be nervous. The main character was afraid to touch food. The girl called him by his name, Yuri. The interlocutor asked the guy if this was his first time at such a table. Yuri said that he is a simple person and has never been to such places. Victoria slyly told the guy that Lizzie could take him to such a place if she wanted. Yuri grabbed the cutlery with his hands. Vicky said that Lizzie didn't want to leave any trace. The interlocutor asked the main character how far they went together with Lizzie. Yuri jumped up and shouted in fear that he and the girl were underage. Victoria asked the guy if he was really dating his girlfriend. The main character replied that his relationship with the girl cannot be considered a standard. The interlocutor asked the guy if he really always thinks about such things. She asked if Lizzie was very conservative. The interlocutor smiled slyly at the main character and said that she could also do something for him. The guy answered fearfully that he didn't want this. The main character asked where Lizzie was. Vicky responded dissatisfied to her interlocutor that he would see the girl soon. The interlocutor looked at the guy and said that she wanted to tell him something important first. Vicky took out a notepad. She wanted to tell Yuri why they brought him here. The interlocutor explained to the guy that she was now holding Lizzie's notebook in her hands. Victoria explained that Lizzie wrote a plan in a notebook when she escaped from the academy. Also there the girl wrote her plans for the future. The interlocutor looked sternly at the guy through her glasses. She reported that Lizzie wrote down in a notebook why she approached certain people. The servant brought a notepad to the main character on a tray. The guy was surprised. Yuri looked at the notebook with great disbelief. He didn't know if he could take it now. The guy asked his interlocutor, why is she giving him the document? Vicky answered the guy that there was important information in the notebook that he should know. Yuri extended his hand to the document. He didn't exactly realize what he should know. The servant abruptly pulled the notebook towards him. The interlocutor told the guy that she wanted to clarify something with him. Victoria told the surprised guy that she wanted to ask him something important. The girl asked the guy, does he really think that Lizzie loves him? The main character answered without any hesitation that he was sure that his girlfriend loved him. Victoria was surprised. Yuri told the girl that he had no doubt about Lizzie's feelings for him. Vicky smiled contentedly. She was very pleased with the protagonist's answer. The interlocutor happily suggested that the guy take a look at everything himself. Yuri became worried. He did not pay attention to the huge figure of the bear next to him. There was someone inside the bear statue who was carefully watching the main character. Inside the bear statue was a tied-up girl. Vicky suggested that the guy read in the diary what Lizzie thought about him. The interlocutor explained to the guy that any things are much more authentic if they come from a notebook than from the person himself. The main character carefully read the document. Vicky told the guy to turn his attention to page 41. Yuri was completely immersed in reading. The interlocutor asked the guy what was written in the notebook. The girl wrote in her diary that the partner should be unremarkable so as not to attract unnecessary attention. Lizzie wrote in her notebook that her partner must be very cowardly and timid, so as not to look for another woman. The girl wrote that you need to use your partner as a tool. The girl sat imprisoned in a statue of a bear. She realized that the main character was now counting her notebook. Vicky angrily reminded the guy that he had previously admitted that he loved Lizzie. The interlocutor looked slyly at the guy and asked, "Does he really believe in this?" Yuri sat very upset. Vicky told him that Lizzie might not have feelings for him. Lizzie's girl was very scared and worried. Vicky told the main character at this time that Lizzie didn't love him. Victoria told the evil guy that his girlfriend Lizzie was simply using him. Yuri watched as a candle burned on the table in front of him. The interlocutor told the guy that Lizzie was only using him so that she could have a normal life. The interlocutor told the guy that if he doesn't believe her, then he can find out everything personally from Lizzie. The main character asked the girl if he could ask her a question. Vicky asked the guy, "What does he want to know?" Yuri asked his interlocutor, "Was it really Lizzie who wrote down the data in the notebook?" Vicky replied that everything was written with the girl's own hands. The main character was holding a diary in his hands. He examined it with excitement. Victoria was very surprised. Lizzie looked at the actions of the main character with great excitement. Yuri grabbed the diary and confidently raised it to the candle. The paper caught fire. Victoria looked at the guy with great surprise. The main character apologized for being harsh. Yuri strictly told his interlocutor that he would not allow such a notebook to exist. The main character apologetically threw the remaining hot paper onto the floor. Victoria angrily asked the guy, "What did he do?" "She reminded me of the entries in the diary." The main character jumped to his feet and shouted, "That none of this matters." Yuri explained to his interlocutor that most people find it difficult to love someone when they first meet. The main character said that love can always begin with interest or need. The guy explained that the essence of love is how a guy and a girl treat each other. Yuri said what really bothered him was why Lizzie chose him. The girlfriend silently heard everything at that time. The main character explained that the notebook's contents only related to when their relationship began. Yuri told his interlocutor that the entries in the diary were not related to their current relationship. Lizzie was amazed by her friend's words. Tears appeared in her eyes. Victoria was very angry. She grabbed the tablecloth with her hand and shouted for the guy to stop. Vicky shouted menacingly at the guy that Lizzie had fooled him around her little finger. Yuri replied dissatisfiedly that none of this mattered. Yuri explained to his interlocutor that he believed that Lizzie's feelings were as they were described in the notebook. The main character explained that he did not pay enough attention to the girl and all the blame lies with him. Victoria was very angry. She realized that the notebook had no effect on the guy. Vicky asked the main character if it really doesn't matter to him what his girlfriend thinks of him. The angry interlocutor did not understand how a guy could like this. The mercenary asked the guy, shouldn't he run away in such a situation? Victoria told the guy that there could be no exception for people like him. The girl took out her bladed weapon. She shouted that she would not accept this. Lizzie became very worried and scared. She realized that her friend was in danger. Victoria extended her blade to the main character and prepared to hit him. The angry mercenary ran at the guy. She shouted that she would test him right now. Lizzie was completely focused. She decided to use all her strength to break free. The girl tried to move her tied hands behind her to break free. Lizzie was able to free her hands. She broke the bars that bound her. The girl smashed the bear statue she was in and jumped out of it. The main character was very surprised and amazed. He didn't wait for his girlfriend to appear. Yuri looked at the girl next to him. He never expected her to appear. Lizzie threw Victoria back with a very powerful blow. The main character looked to the side with great excitement. He didn't know what to say. The girlfriend addressed the words to her boyfriend. Yuri turned to her in surprise. Lizzie was squatting. She asked the guy if all his words were really true. The guards helped Victoria, who was lying on the ground. Lizzie asked the main character if he said his words without thinking that she could eavesdrop. Girlfriend asked the guy if he would mind if she treated him well from now on. Yuri looked at his girlfriend with great excitement. He smiled at her cheerfully. The main character told his surprised girlfriend that all his words were true. The main character came up to hug the girl. He told her cheerfully that he was even a little happy. Yuri pressed himself against his girlfriend. He told her that if they had difficulties, they could deal with them together. Lizzie hugged her friend very happily. She felt happy. The girl was sitting on the floor and holding her friend in her arms. Her bag was lying on the ground nearby. The main character asked his girlfriend, "Where has she been all this time?" The girl replied that she was a little late. Yuri asked his friend what was on her hand. Lizzie told her friend not to touch her. Someone was carefully watching everything that was happening in the room through a camera. Benji was very unhappy. She said that everything that happened was a failure. Lizzie's girl was at home. Unexpectedly in the middle of the night she woke up. Lizzie was very scared. She carefully looked around the bedroom. The girl recalled the events of the past day. At night she had a nightmare. Lizzie sat on the bed and repeated to herself that it was all just a dream. The girl was very excited. She was even afraid to go back to sleep. Lizzie told herself that she couldn't let this go on any longer. At this time, Benji arrived at the airport. The mercenary waved her hand to the servants from the plane and said that they would see each other again. The girl looked carefully at the phone. She told herself that she wanted to deal with someone else. Unexpectedly, the mercenary noticed how a stranger in a black uniform approached her from behind. The stranger was holding a powerful cord in her hands. Benji fearfully decided that she saw Lizzie in front of her. The stranger looked carefully at her victim. She prepared to attack her. The main character suddenly woke up. He jumped up on the bed and saw that the night had already passed. Yuri was surprised. He could not understand what kind of weekend he had been given. The main character remembered how the guards carried Victoria away. He thought that she was not seriously injured. Yuri remembered that Lizzie's father said that he would return this morning. He opened the door and smelled a good smell. The main character went into the kitchen and was very surprised. He noticed his girlfriend there. Lizzie stood in the kitchen, almost undressed. She was preparing food and greeted the guy. The main character looked at his girlfriend very fascinated. He greeted her. Lizzie sternly and slyly asked the guy, what was he staring at? The main character turned around sharply and very scared. Yuri asked the girl why she wasn't dressed and what was she cooking on the stove. Lizzie answered the guy that she sometimes wants to change the usual state of things. Yuri reminded the girl with surprise that her father was supposed to return this morning. Lizzie sat the main character at the table and invited him to start having breakfast. Yuri thought dissatisfied to himself that he didn't even understand what was happening now. The main character looked at the food on the table. He didn't like her right away. The guy saw fish standing in front of him along with rice. He realized that such food was not eaten in Great Britain. The girl looked at her friend with excitement. The main character realized that Lizzie wanted him to try her food. The main character very confidently grabbed the food with his spoon and put it in his mouth. The girlfriend was very worried. The main character fell unconscious on the floor. Lizzie didn't understand what happened to the guy. She said that she washed the rice with the product. Yuri felt very unwell. He seemed to be sick. Yuri asked his friend why she wanted to start cooking. Lizzie told the guy that she wanted to do a bunch of different things for him. The main character suggested to his interlocutor that he could do the laundry. Lizzie answered the guy that everything was fine. She added that she would take care of everything herself. Yuri looked at his girlfriend with excitement. He thought he was nervous about all this. The guy watched as the girl cleaned the house. He realized that he couldn't stop her. While cleaning, Yuri noticed various weapons hanging on one of the walls. Lizzie dumped the dishes in the sink to wash them. The main character shouted that they didn't need to use acid for this. The girl decided to get rid of the pile of garbage using a flamethrower. The main character shouted to his interlocutor that she simply could not burn it all. Yuri felt very exhausted. He fell exhausted to the floor. The main character sat next to the fire extinguisher and looked at a pile of garbage. He didn't understand how it happened. The guy told his girlfriend to rest. He added that he would clean everything up himself. The guy started vacuuming. He told the girl that there were a lot of things in this house. Lizzie sat on the floor and looked at her friend. She didn't say anything. The girl looked at the main character. she realized that the guy decided to clean everything in the house himself. Evening came and the cleaning was over. The main character said to himself that he almost fainted. Yuri went into the shower. He said that the house was full of strange mechanisms and that made it difficult to clean. The guy fearfully noticed how several pistols fell from above. He told himself that this was indeed the house of murderers. Yuri was sitting in the bathroom. He thought that his girlfriend was acting very strange today. The main character thought to himself that Lizzie could actually be her father in disguise. At that time the door opened and a girl came in. She asked the guy if he called her. Yuri looked at the girl who came in with great surprise. He didn't expect to see her. The main character was amazed. He felt that he was very excited and shy. Lizzie looked lovingly at the guy and asked if he would mind her coming in. The girl invited her friend to join him in the bathroom. Yuri felt very shy while sitting in the bathroom. He called his girlfriend. The girl slowly walked across the bathroom floor to her friend. She called him by name. Lizzie told the main character that he should know what she would tell him now. The main character was very scared. He looked at his girlfriend. The girl said in a playful voice that the time had come. My friend wanted to get into the bathroom. She said it was time to do it. Yuri didn't understand what his interlocutor was talking about. The main character was very worried. It was difficult for him to understand what was happening. Yuri was very excited. He remembered that Lizzie's girl had never behaved like this before. The girlfriend prepared to climb into the guy's bathroom. Yuri decided to himself that the girl was not doing all this of her own free will. The girl's face was very close. Yuri told his girlfriend that they needed to wait. The main character explained to the interlocutor that they should not do this right now. Lizzie angrily shouted at the guy that he should have come to terms with such a situation. Yuri asked the excited girl what she was doing. The main character said disgruntledly to his girlfriend that they couldn't do this. He added that she needed to calm down. Yuri looked at his interlocutor very excitedly and explained that he couldn't do that. Lizzie angrily told the frightened guy that they must create a new generation. She added that their father would no longer disturb them. The girl slipped. She could no longer stand on her feet and began to fall. The main character noticed with amazement how his girlfriend began to fall. Yuri became worried. He realized that he could not help his girlfriend and detain her. The naked girl fell down. She hit her head very hard. Consciousness began to completely leave the girl. Her eyes began to close. At the last moment, the girlfriend noticed how the main character was looking at her in fear. Lizzie opened her eyes, frightened. She felt that she was very shocked. The girl jumped up sharply on the bed. She began to remember what happened to her. Suddenly the girl heard a noise from the side. It was the main character who came to her. Yuri asked the girl if she had already woken up. He said with a smile that murderers come to their senses faster than ordinary people. The girl was very excited. She looked at her friend silently and with incomprehension. The main character calmed the girl down. He explained that he did not do anything to her body. Yuri sat down on the bed next to his girlfriend. They were both silent. The main character asked the girl why she behaved so strangely all day. Lizzie was silent. She turned her head to the side and did not answer the main character. Yuri smiled to himself. He decided to wait until the girl herself told him everything. Lizzie felt very sad. She tiredly put her head in her hands. The girl told the main character that she just wanted to impress him. Lizzie explained to the guy that after her father left, he was dragged into trouble through her fault. The girlfriend explained to the surprised guy that she just wanted to try to make amends. Lizzie said very sadly to her interlocutor that she only knows how to kill people. The girl answered the guy in a sad voice that she was very sorry that she was like this. She added that she only knows how to kill. Yuri told the surprised girl that at first he thought something bad had happened again. The guy explained to his interlocutor that at first he also had similar thoughts. He was worried that his girlfriend might stop liking him. Yuri explained to his interlocutor that he had thought about this a lot since she confessed to him. Lizzie listened carefully to her friend's words. She didn't know right away what to tell him. The girlfriend was angry. Main character asked the girl if this had ever occurred to her. Yuri explained to Lizzie that it is absolutely normal to understand what someone else is thinking. The washing machine signaled that the wash was complete. The guy explained to his interlocutor that all this could just be a lack of trust in his partner. Yuri told the girl that he had something that he wanted to offer her. The washing machine has stopped. The guy told the girl that there is something that makes him happy. Yuri put his hand on his girlfriend's hand. He said they shouldn't stay like this forever. The main character told his interlocutor that he did not want them to burden each other with thoughts. Lizzie smiled at the guy and said that she agreed with his words. At this time there was a very strong knock on the wall, as if someone wanted to break in. Benji kicked out the wall. She asked the main character angrily, "What is he talking about?" Yuri and his girlfriend were very scared. They did not expect the guest to appear. Benji began to make trouble in the house. She shouted to her daughter that she would end things with her today. As a result, the mercenary reprimanded Lizzie very sternly. The girl, sitting on the floor, listened to everything carefully. Lizzie was talking to someone on the phone. She told the interlocutor that she left everything else to his discretion. Benji was sleeping at that time. Lizzie said on the phone that she didn't want her father to disturb her tomorrow. The girl hung up the phone. She was thinking about something of her own. Lizzie looked at the phone in front of her with great attention. She was determined. The girl decided that she needed to make sure that she and her friend had a real date tomorrow. The main character was resting calmly. He had no idea about his girlfriend's plans. The next morning Benji woke up. She decided to go to the kitchen. The mercenary had difficulty opening her eyes. She said dissatisfied to herself that her body was not yet accustomed to the local time. The girl came out and was surprised to notice that no one was around. She was surprised. Benji looked closely and noticed how the main character was standing around the corner. She didn't understand what the guy was doing in the kitchen. The mercenary with a knife rushed at the main character. She shouted that this was the perfect moment. Benji turned around and noticed how the main character had turned into a powerful robot. The girl was very scared. She didn't expect to see such a guy in front of her. The guy hit his opponent with all his might using a special hand. The girl was blown to the side by the powerful blow. The robot looked at her silently. The mercenary was lying on the floor. There was huge destruction in the bathroom and there was a huge hole in the wall. Benji jumped up and asked the guy very angrily, "What is he doing now?" The guy once again threw a metal hand at his rival. She barely had time to jump to the side. Benji looked at the guy in fear. He continued to try to finish her off with his metal hand. The mercenary was surprised and amazed. She didn't understand what the guy had turned into. The mercenary noticed how the guy looked at her angrily. He prepared to attack her again. The evil cyborg looked at his victim with burning eyes. He looked very menacing. Benji was very much amazed and surprised. She couldn't understand what happened to the guy. The mercenary told herself that she did not understand why her opponent looked so strange. The robot began to run towards the girl. Benji reassured herself by saying that modification of the human body is commonplace. The mercenary told herself confidently that the main character turned out to be not such a weakling. Benji prepared to attack. She said dissatisfiedly that she did not know what happened to the guy during the time that they did not see each other. The mercenary angrily shouted to her opponent that he could not defeat her, even if he changed his body. Benji angrily shouted at the guy that she would show him what she could do. The mercenary woman rushed up to hit her opponent with a kick. Yuri was walking and having fun around the city with his girlfriend on a clear sunny day. The guy and the girl were riding on cars. The girlfriend shouted joyfully to the guy that she had crashed into him. Yuri shouted joyfully to his interlocutor that she was very energetic. The girl happily answered the guy that he would play with her all day. The main characters were very happy. He liked that his girlfriend looked happy. The guy looked at the girl. He didn't understand if this could be normal without her father's invitation. Lizzie happily told the guy that everything would be wonderful. Yuri agreed with the girl. The girlfriend grabbed the guy by the hand and told them to go somewhere else. Yuri and his friend happily ran around the amusement park. The main character and his girlfriend decided to go for a ride and relax on the rides. While Yuri was having fun with his girlfriend, Benji tried to fight off the robot that attacked her. Lizzie was feeding her friend ice cream. At the same time, the mercenary tried to use a pistol against the cyborg. Later in the evening, the main character returned to his home with his girlfriend. They were very surprised. Yuri and Lizzie stood together and looked in amazement at the destroyed house. The guy and the girl couldn't understand what had happened. There were only ruins around. Suddenly there was a very powerful blow. Benji flew straight to the entrance. Lizzie looked at the girl with great excitement. She lay unconscious. Yuri couldn't understand what was happening. Lizzie heard a noise from the side and carefully turned there. The girl could not understand who could have done such destruction. Yuri looked to the side in fear. He noticed the dangerous cyborg standing there. The main character saw an ominous cyborg in front of him. He couldn't figure out what this infernal thing was. The main character was very amazed. He stood next to his girlfriend. Yuri could not understand what kind of demonic robot was standing opposite him now. At this time, Benji began to gradually come to her senses. She grabbed her head with a scream. Benji looked to the side in surprise and shouted that she saw two identical guys. Yuri was very surprised by these words. The main character was very, very amazed. He saw very clearly that the robot looked exactly like him. The mercenary looked at the cyborg and asked the main character, who could create such a terrible thing? Yuri and the mercenary turned around sharply and looked at Lizzie with suspicion. Lizzie was very embarrassed. The main character and the mercenary realized that the girl was to blame for everything. Lizzie apologetically told her friends that she didn't think things would turn out this way. Benji said judiciously that the fighting monster was created by Professor Nitro. The mercenary told the girl that she really turned to this crazy woman. Yuri asked who Professor Nitro is. The mercenary said that Nitro is the inventor of their plan. It manufactures special equipment. At this time the robot approached and decided to try to attack people. They were very scared. Benji shouted in fear that civilians and the reputation of their clan could suffer. Lizzie carried the main character away in her arms. Lizzie and Benji decided to fight against the work that attacked them. The mercenaries cheerfully shouted that they could give the attacking cyborg a hard time. The robot threw the girls away from him with a powerful blow of his hand. Yuri realized that the girlfriends could not do absolutely anything. The main character stood and was surprised to see how the mercenaries flew to the side. Suddenly the robot became interested in something. He glanced to the side with excitement. Benji lay unconscious on the ground. Her friends were sitting next to her. Lizzie looked away nervously. She realized that the robot was watching her. The cyborg carefully examined the girl. He stopped attacking people. Suddenly the metal guy perked up. Sparks of love began to glow behind his eyes. The girl was scared. She realized that the robot had a very strong crush on her and wanted to pursue her. Benji looked at the metal guy in surprise. She asked, "What's wrong with him?" Lizzie said that when she asked to make a model of the robot, she gave Nitro a strand of the main character's hair and asked him to make him a clone. The girl asked her friends in surprise, "Why do they have such a face?" Benji angrily rushed at the surprised robot and demanded that he let go of his daughter. The cyborg attacked the mercenary with powerful radiation from his head. He threw it far away. The main character looked with excitement at Benji lying on the floor. He realized that she would not be able to move. Yuri calmed himself down. He realized that he was the only one who could stop the robot. The main character watched with excitement as the robot pestered the girl. He remembered that Lizzie said that the cyborg had the same inclinations as him. Yuri thought that the cyborg might have the same weaknesses as him. Some thought came to the main character's head. He became very worried. Yuri realized that it was time to act. He decided that he had found a method to defeat the cyborg. The main character ran with all his strength to the side at full speed into the building. The cyborg and the people next to him looked in surprise at the guy in the house. Yuri accelerated and jumped out of the building window at full speed. The main character, the general, is holding some box in his girlfriend's clothes. Yuri carried with him in a box different underwear of his girlfriend. The robot and the girls looked in surprise at what the main character was doing. Robot distracted, he turned his head towards the main character. The cyborg became interested and immediately rushed to the guy. The cyborg grabbed the girl's underwear from the guy's hands and put it on his head. The main character shouted to the surprised girls to quickly deal with the robot. Yuri shouted with all his might to the girls not to waste time and to do it now. Benji and her daughter accelerated and prepared to attack the robot. The mercenary and her friend hit the cyborg with all their might. He flew aside along with the main character. Yuri felt like he was falling from a great height. The remains of the girl's underwear were flying next to him. The main character closed his eyes in fear. He thought that he would no longer be able to survive. At the last moment the guy saw his girlfriend's flying underwear and decided to himself that it was all over for him. As a result, the guy and his girlfriends were able to somehow destroy the robot. After everything that happened, the girl Lizzie was very much reprimanded for the incident. Lizzie promised that she would no longer contact Professor Nitro with such requests. Yuri looked at the girl. He decided that her look had changed for him since that day. The main character thought to himself that if he looked back, then for him everything was not so great. At night the school building was empty. The corridors were dark and deserted. The woman opened the school locker. She was sorting through something and looking for something. Suddenly the worker heard some suspicious noise from behind. She turned her head. The woman was scared, she dropped her clothes out of great surprise. The worker was scared, she screamed very loudly, her scream echoed throughout the school building. The next day the students discussed what had happened. Someone said that a ghost appeared yesterday. The schoolchildren were talking among themselves about ghosts. The main character stood with the girl and listened carefully. The girl asked her friend if he was interested. Yuri smiled at his girlfriend and replied that he was not interested. The main character said that a lot has happened in his life, so the thought of ghosts does not frighten him. The main character told his girlfriend that no one believes in ghosts these days. Lizzie and the main character looked in surprise at the frightened girl on the desk. The mercenary was very scared, her whole body was shaking very violently from fear. Benji was very scared, she looked unseeingly in front of her. The main character was very scared, he didn't know what was happening and how he should react. Benji asked the main character in a frightened voice, "Does he really think ghosts are nonsense?" The mercenary asked the guy excitedly, did he really think that she would be afraid of something like that? The main character was excited, everything was unexpected for him, he couldn't figure out what happened to Benji. Lizzie came up and put her hand on the mercenary's shoulder from behind, she was very scared. The girl asked the mercenary with suspicion, is she really up to something? Lizzie angrily asked the mercenary, did all this happen because of her? The main character asked his girlfriend in fear, what is she talking about? Lizzie told the guy to think about it himself. The girl said that everything that had happened so far was connected with the mercenary. Benji thought to herself that she couldn't argue with that. Lizzie said that the attacker could do something again to separate her from her boyfriend, she could force the killer to hide on the school premises. The girl looked sternly at the mercenary and said that all this could just be a game. Benji turned around and said displeasedly to her interlocutor that she was putting forward ridiculous theories. Lizzie pointed her finger at the mercenary and said that she was very worried, this confirms her suspicion. Benji, I asked the dissatisfied interlocutor if she had any evidence. The mercenary asked the girl if she had any evidence that she did everything. The main character told his girlfriend that she couldn't push her girlfriend around like that without proof. Lizzie was very angry, she didn't like being asked to prove it. The girl tied up the mercenary and held her in her hands. They stood in the school corridor. Lizzie shouted happily that she could just look for evidence. The main character was very scared, he couldn't understand what was happening here. Lizzie shouted angrily to the guy that Benji was just pretending. The girl came close to the mercenary and shouted that she would reveal her disguise. Benji angrily and angry asked the interlocutors what they were doing to her. Lizzie kicked open the door to the school office, she shouted to the mercenary that even the ghosts would run away from her. The main character and his girlfriend looked fearfully inside the school office. Lizzie threw the mercenary inside the room, she demanded that she bring her subordinates. The girl explained to the main character that they would drop Benji into the office and wait to see what would happen. The mercenary was lying on the floor, she didn't like that she would have to suffer such humiliation. Suddenly the girl heard something suspicious from the side, she turned around in fear. Benji noticed something white starting to approach her from the side. The mercenary was scared, she realized that there might be a ghost next to her. The girl lay there watching carefully as the ghost began to approach her closer and closer. The main character and his girlfriend were very scared and worried. Benji was very scared, she rushed towards the guy at full speed. Yuri was very surprised, the mercenary scaredly rushed to him and hugged him. The main character was very surprised, he didn't expect Benji to be so scared. Yuri realized that the mercenary was not pretending, she was really very scared now. The main character carefully examined the classroom, he realized that there really was something there. Yuri stood next to his girlfriend, with great excitement they saw a white ghost appear in the room. The main character held a mercenary in his arms, she was very scared. Lizzie stood next to him. Yuri demanded that the girl get off her. Lizzie asked the mercenary with interest, what was she doing? The main character said that, most likely, Benji simply lost her head. Yuri looked carefully into the classroom, he wanted to understand why the girl was afraid. Lizzie stood aside, she looked with great attention at what the main character was doing. The girl couldn't believe that the mercenary could be so scared. Suddenly people heard someone from the room shouting for them to leave. An ominous voice from the darkness shouted at the people to go away. Lizzie was very scared and worried, she realized that there really was someone in the class. The girl took a closer look and noticed the outlines of a ghost in front of her. Lizzie was very scared, she realized that a real ghost was now in front of her. The girl noticed how a glow appeared inside the room. She became worried. The ghost began to approach. It shouted angrily at the people to go away. The main character and his girlfriends were very scared. They realized that they needed to run away. Yuri and the girls rushed along the school corridor and screamed in fear. Yuri ran very quickly. At that time he was carrying his girlfriend in his arms. The guy asked the girls in fear and surprise why they were afraid of ghosts if they themselves were murderers. Benji said with a smile to the main character that all this is an occupational hazard. Yuri shouted to his friends in fear that they needed to calm down. He added, they must find out what it is. The guy ran with his girlfriends. A ghost was rushing after them. Unexpectedly the main character slipped while going down the steps. At the very last moment the main character managed to grab the ghost with his hand. People started falling down the steps. The main one shouted to his girlfriend to be careful. Lizzie jumped aside in fear. She noticed the ghost fall to the floor next to her. The girl turned to the side with excitement. She noticed the main character lying down. Yuri lay exhausted on the floor. Benji was lying on top of him and next to her was a ghost. The main character looked carefully at the ghost in front of him. He looked scared. The ghost grabbed the guy with his arms from below. He began to come to his senses. Yuri rose above the floor. He was still very dizzy. Lizzie felt very angry. She looked at her friend with hatred. The girl looked at the ghost in surprise. She was very angry. The girl became very angry. She absolutely did not like that the phantom touched her boyfriend. The ghost started waving his arms and shouting at the girl to go away. Lizzie swung her hand and hit the ghost with all her might. She asked very dissatisfied, "What does he need?" The girl shouted to the ghost to prepare for the consequences of touching her boyfriend. The main character saw a ghost from behind. He shouted to his girlfriend that it was all a misunderstanding. Yuri noticed that there was a girl in a ghost costume. The guy shouted again that it was all a misunderstanding. Lizzie shouted to the guy that she had reasons to hit the ghost. The main character wrapped his hand around the ghost. He shouted to his girlfriend to wait. Lizzie hit the ghost with all her might. The ghost flew away along with the guy. The main character was lying nailed to the wall. There was a ghost next to him. Lizzie was very scared for her friend. She ran up and called his name. Suddenly the girl stopped. She saw her friend appear under the ghost costume. Lizzie was surprised to see her colleague Vicky sitting on the floor in a green suit. Victoria was very scared. She wanted to justify herself to her friend in a broken voice. Lizzie decided to take revenge on her friend because she pretended to be a ghost and scared them. Lizzie asked her interlocutor very sternly if, instead of returning to England, she had been hiding at school all the time. Vicky replied that that was all true. The girl sternly asked her interlocutor, did she really want to follow her along with Yuri? Victoria explained to her friend that she was just a little interested in her relationship with Yuri. Lizzie was strictly required by the mercenary to immediately return to England. Vicky threatened in response that she would tell Madam about all the secrets. The main character looked at the conflict between the girls. He realized that something had happened between them. Vicky shouted displeasedly that she had nowhere else to go. Lizzie suggested that her interlocutor return home. The main character called his girlfriends. He decided to offer them something. Yuri told the girls that Vicky could just live with them. Victoria was very happy. Benji and Lizzie didn't want another mercenary living with them. As a result, a new addition appeared in the main character's family in the form of the mercenary Wiki. Vicky was in Benji's room. She said dissatisfiedly that very soon the main character and Lizzie will really be together. The mercenary replied that she knew everything perfectly well. Vicky angrily accused her interlocutor of not doing anything. Benji angrily reminded her interlocutor that she also lost to the main character and Lizzie. Wiki reported that their methods were a failure from the very beginning. Benji, I asked my interlocutor, did she really have an idea? Victoria thought about it. She told the clan leader that his help would be needed. The guy woke up. Yuri has been suffering from chronic fatigue lately. The main character decided to go and cook breakfast for himself. He knew that his girlfriend Lizzie was still sleeping. Yuri went into the kitchen. He told himself wearily that he could have time to wash his clothes. Unexpectedly, the main character saw his girlfriend in the kitchen. He was very surprised. Vicky turned around and asked the guy with interest, has he really woken up already? Vicky stood in the kitchen dressed as a maid. She told the guy that she would wake him up when everything was ready. The main character was surprised. He looked at his girlfriend silently and suspiciously. The girl explained to the guy not to worry. She added that she had already finished her housework. Yuri looked around the kitchen carefully and in surprise, everything around was clean. The guy noticed that the furniture around was clean, the shoes were in order. He asked the girl if she did all this. Yuri excitedly called his girlfriend's name. The girl told the guy not to worry. Vicky explained that she was doing all this as compensation for living here. Yuri was very worried. The girl explained to him that she would do housework as a maid. Lizzie came into the kitchen. She noticed the main character and his girlfriend in front of her. Lizzie got angry. She didn't know what Vicky decided to do with her boyfriend so early in the morning. Lizzie displeasedly asked her friend, "Why is the main character crying?" Vicky replied that the guy was in bliss. The mercenary reported that, apparently, Yuri did all the housework. Vicky explained to the girl that she had to share housework with her boyfriend. Lizzie collapsed to the floor under the weight of the accusations. The main character told Vicky that he just asked his girlfriend to rest. The girlfriend came to her senses. She looked at the main character with great attention. Yuri stood and listened with great excitement to various accusations from Vicky. Lizzie was sitting on the kitchen floor. She watched as the main character was still arguing with the girl about something. Yuri was proving something to his interlocutor with great passion and a smile. Lizzie looked at her friend with great attention and interest. Lizzie was silent. She decided not to enter into the conversation between the main character and Vicky. Benji sat down at the table. Vicky put the dishes with food and said that everything was ready. There was various food on the table. The girl said that she prepared Romanian dishes. "Yuri," I asked the girl with excitement, "is she really not going to eat?" Vicky replied that she was just a maid. Lizzie asked her interlocutor if she had poisoned the food. Vicky answered her friend displeasedly that that was all she was thinking about. The girl looked suspiciously at the plate of food. She decided to try it. Lizzie tried the food and liked it. She tasted good. The main character smiled and said that Vicky is a really good cook. Lizzie continued to consume food. She thought the food was definitely good. The girl looked carefully at the main character. He was pleased with the food. Lizzie put her spoon on the plate. She realized that she did not want to eat anymore. Lizzie abruptly stood up from the table. Those around her looked at her in surprise. The main character, together with his girlfriends, looked at Lizzie in surprise. The girl said in a dissatisfied tone to her interlocutors that this food was not to her taste. Lizzie confirmed in a dissatisfied voice to her friends that she did not want to eat such food. Yuri was very surprised. He asked the girl what she was saying. Vicky sat down on the floor. She said in an exaggerated voice that it was a very big tragedy that Lizzie didn't want to eat food. Vicky ran to the exit. She shouted that it was all a failure and it was all very terrible. The maid shouted to her friends not to follow her and to let her be alone. The girlfriend told the main character not to follow the wiki. It could all be a trap. Yuri looked displeased at his girlfriend and said that he was very disappointed in her. Lizzie was unpleasantly surprised. She didn't like those words from the guy. The main character said that he will now try to return the wiki. He added to make Lizzie think about apologizing. Benji at this time consumed food with great appetite. It seemed delicious to her. The mercenary brought the spoon to her mouth. At this time she was thinking about something of her own. The main character said goodbye to the girls that he would go and return the wiki back. He added to make Lizzie think about apologizing. Benji came up and put her hand on Lizzie's shoulder from behind. She told the girl not to be upset. The mercenary told her daughter that Yuri is an ordinary guy like the rest. Benji asked the girl angrily and very sternly, "Does she understand her?" The mercenary told the girl to return to the life to which she was born. Suddenly the girl swung her hand and hit her interlocutor in the face with all her might. Benji was very scared. She asked the girl, "What is she doing with her?" Lizzie was briefly surprised. She looked at the mercenary with an incomprehensible gaze. The girl angrily asked her interlocutor what was happening to her here. Lizzie decided to interrogate her interlocutor in her house. She tied her to a chair. Lizzie said dissatisfied to her tied-up rival that she had no words. The girl asked Benji if she came up with this trick together with Vicky. The mercenary replied that everything was so. Lizzie hit the girl on the leg with all her might. She shouted that there was not a single day when they could relax. The girl demanded from her captive that she tell the details about the plan. Benji answered angrily to the girl that she underestimated her. Lizzie held out a whole bunch of tools in her bag to torture her interlocutor. The girl began to extract the necessary information from her captive using various methods. Lizzie told her exhausted captive that she had missed something important. The girl said that she was taught to loosen the tongue even of professionals. The captive was frightened. Lizzie asked the girl, is she ready to test the effectiveness of her methods on herself? Benji was very scared. She realized that the girl would be able to extract the necessary information from her. Lizzie began to extract the necessary information from her captive with all her strength. Benji told everything the interlocutor needed. Lizzie said joyfully to herself that she understood what was the matter. The girl said that Vicky wanted to change the main character and take his virginity. Vicky decided that the naive guy would stay with her after the first time of love. Lizzie said judiciously that she couldn't even seduce the guy. She doubts that Vicky can do it. Suddenly, one thought came to the girl's head. She became very worried. At this time the main character caught up with his girlfriend and called her. She was walking down the street. Yuri was out of breath. He told the girl not to leave. He added that everyone was worried about her. The guy told his interlocutor that Lizzie didn't want to offend her. Vicky asked the guy if he had really come such a long way to tell her this. Yuri said with a smile to the girl that everything was fine and he could get some fresh air. Vicky was very worried. She was surprised by the protagonist's answer. Having calmed down a little, the girl told the main character that he was very kind. The mercenary told the guy that he always looks at everything in a positive light. She said that she now understood why Lizzie liked him so much. Yuri said thoughtfully to the girl that people always strive for what they don't have. The main character looked at the girl with a smile and said that when he looks at her, he sometimes thinks about something like that. Yuri told his surprised girlfriend that she was very beautiful and he would like to be like her. The guy asked the girl with a smile if these thoughts were similar to what she was talking about. Vicky thought deeply. She looked at the guy with great attention. The mercenary took out a bottle. She decided to herself that she also thought so, just like the guy. The girl prepared to attack the guy. The main character did not suspect anything. Vicky called the guy by name. The main character turned to the girl in surprise. The interlocutor asked the main character to forgive her. Yuri was very worried. Vicky poured the contents of the bottle onto the handkerchief. The main character did not have time to defend himself in any way. The mercenary ran up sharply from behind to the main character and put a handkerchief on his face. Yuri was very scared. He couldn't understand what the girl was doing to him now. The main character felt that his strength was leaving him. A mercenary stood behind him. A guy and a girl stood on a deserted street. There was no one around. Vicky grabbed the main character and pulled him sharply to the side into the alley. The mercenary threw the guy aside with all her might into a pile of garbage. Yuri fearfully called his interlocutor by name. The girl told the guy that he should not resist. Vicky told the frightened guy that she didn't want to kill him. She added that he needed his virginity. The main character told his interlocutor that he would never agree to this. Vicky answered the guy joyfully that she expected this. The main character was surprised. He could not understand how the girl could expect such an answer from him. Yuri noticed how a bottle with a special liquid was hidden on the girl's body. The main character felt his heart begin to beat faster. He became worried. Vicky asked her interlocutor with interest, "What is he feeling now?" The girl asked the guy what was happening to his body now. Vicky began to undress little by little. She asked the guy if he wanted to taste her body. Lizzie ran excitedly down the street. She thought to herself that Vicky couldn't have gone far. The girl ran with all her might. She had to hurry before it was too late. Lizzie clearly imagined her friend together with the mercenary. She ran faster and faster. The main character very clearly felt the same symptoms in his body as before at school. Vicky told the main character that he was trying to hold back. She added that the guy looks cheerful, despite his appearance. The girl smiled slyly at the guy and said that there was no point in this. Vicky told the anxious guy that the purpose of the drug was to keep him from holding back. Yuri felt to himself that he could no longer control and restrain himself. Vicky asked the surprised guy, "Does he want this?" Yuri was silent in response. The interlocutor told the guy that love is nothing more than an excuse to do other things. Vicky began to undress the guy. The interlocutor told the guy that she had already experienced and knew how insignificant love is. The main character watched silently and with excitement as Vicky approached him. The girl looked at the guy and asked with interest if he wanted a kiss. Vicky closed her eyes and said why not. She approached the guy. Suddenly the main character started pumping very loudly. The girl was very scared. The girl was scared. She couldn't understand why her friend screamed. Vicky sat and looked at the main character with great surprise. She didn't understand what had happened. Girlfriend asked the main character, "What did he just do?" Yuri explained to his interlocutor that he had seen his father do something similar before. He added that when a person experiences a strong shock, he immediately comes to his senses. The main character calmly told the girl that the love she was talking about was different from the one he knew. Yuri happily told his interlocutor that his thoughts about Lizzie are similar to what she just told him. Vicky was very surprised. She did not expect to hear such words from the main character. The mercenary got angry. She realized that the plan didn't go the way she wanted. Vicky told the guy angrily that he left her no other choice. She leaned towards him. The girl took metal handcuffs out of her pocket and told the surprised guy that she would do everything her way. The mercenary threw handcuffs towards the guy to bind him with them. Vicky turned away and told the guy that she still had to take his virginity. The mercenary approached the guy and began to undress him. The main character asked the girl what she was doing. Vicky told the guy that he should break up with Lizzie. Vicky continued to tell the guy that he should break up with Lizzie. The girl explained that when the guy breaks up with his girlfriend, she will regain her calm personality. Vicky told the surprised protagonist that Lizzie is very patient. She wasn't like this before. Vicky explained to the guy that the Lizzie she knew before was more apathetic and straightforward. The mercenary said that Lizzie used to be the kind of girl I wanted to be equal to. The main character told the surprised interlocutor that he could not understand what she was talking about. Vicky grabbed the guy by the clothes. She told him that he lives a simple life and cannot understand it. The main character answered the interlocutor that it did not matter at all what she said before. Yuri asked the girl what she meant when she said that she knew Lizzie before. The main character asked if his girlfriend had really said before that she wanted to be an apathetic person. Yuri said that his girlfriend is very gentle and impressionable. The girl at that time was rushing to help her friend. The main character said that the words that Vicky said earlier were spoken by Lizzie's father. The main character explained to his interlocutor that she was trying to impose her ideals on Lizzie. The guy explained to his surprised interlocutor that she should first try to sympathize with Lizzie. Vicky was very angry and did not like the words of her interlocutor. The girl decided to continue undressing the main character. There was no way he could resist. The mercenary angrily shouted to the guy that she would not allow this and would not agree to it. Lizzie suddenly appeared. She unexpectedly kicked the mercenary in flight. The girl continued to kick Vicky. She asked, angrily, if she knew who she had contacted. The girlfriend turned and asked the guy worriedly if he was okay. Yuri replied that he was fine. Lizzie looked closer with fear and noticed that the main character was already very naked. The girl was very amazed. She looked at her friend with great attention. Lizzie was very embarrassed. She didn't know what to say. The main character asked his girlfriend for forgiveness. The main character told his surprised interlocutor that he must apologize for what happened today. Yuri thanked his girlfriend for coming to save him. The girl smiled at her boyfriend. She was delighted by his gratitude. Lizzie said joyfully to her friend that she agreed with his words. In the evening at the school building, the boss thanked his subordinate for the preparations. The leader told the subordinate that he did not think that he would hide here. The subordinate explained that this place was the most suitable. The intruder was standing at the window. He said joyfully that everything would finally be over. The boss told himself that he would take revenge on the Springfield bastards who took everything from him. The main character and his girlfriends were getting ready for school in the morning. Someone shouted in fear that they were already late. Vicky stood and looked at the TV with great attention. Something interested her. The maid saw something interesting. The main character was getting ready for school at that time with his girlfriends. Vicky told her friends in surprise that she had been to the school they were talking about on TV. Yuri and the girls watched a television report about their school. The main character was very amazed and interested. His girlfriends were also surprised. It was reported on TV that terrorists had infiltrated a high school in the city center. The main character was very excited. He asked his girlfriends what will happen this time. Benji said very angrily to his interlocutors that something similar had already happened before. She added that she was innocent of this. Yuri said thoughtfully that Benji or Victoria were not to blame for what happened at school. The TV announcer said that the leader of the terrorists is a man named Alejandro. Benji suddenly became very happy. The main character asked the mercenary why she reacts so joyfully to this. Yuri angrily told the mercenary that she must be behind all this. Benji answered the main character that she had no idea what he was talking about. The mercenary explained that she works all over the world. She added that she has a couple of things to do with Alejandro, but she is not connected with him in any way. Benji, I asked the main character if he really thinks that they would target someone for personal reasons. Yuri at this time looked to the side with great attention. He noticed how Vicky was acting very strange. The mercenary sat and showed some gestures in front of herself. Yuri looked at her with excitement. One of the girls said in fear that the terrorists were announcing their demands. Alejandro demanded that a helicopter be prepared for him. He added that the persecution would lead to pointless casualties. The leader announced over the loudspeaker that he wanted to get a student named Lizzie Springfield. The main character and the mercenary carefully turned around and looked at Lizzie. Lizzie was very surprised. She herself did not understand why the leader of the terrorists called her name. Alejandro said he doesn't know how people managed to keep the Springfield student safe. Benji was amazed. She carefully looked from the TV to the girl. The terrorist leader warned the people that if they decide to ignore their demands and run away. Alejandro raised a vessel in his hands so that it could be seen far away. The terrorist warned people that he would hit the hostages with the help of a special sleeping pill, gas. Alejandro told the people angrily that they must submit to his demands. Yuri noticed how his girlfriend turned around and prepared to leave. He became very worried. Lizzie stood near the door. She said the terrorist wanted her, not her friends. The girl told the worried protagonist that he should stay at home. Benji decided to go with her colleague. She added that an ordinary person should not interfere in such an incident. The mercenary smiled and said that she would help Lizzie in a similar situation. Benji explained that she had to teach the terrorists a lesson because they don't know business from pleasure. Lizzie smiled happily. She realized that she now had an assistant. Benji shouted to her daughter that they would see how much better she had become. Lizzie answered her interlocutor as she walked that they would show what they were capable of. The girls shouted goodbye to the main character that they would be back soon. Yuri turned around and asked Vicky why she didn't go with her colleagues. The girl answered fearfully that everything was fine. The main character told his interlocutor that he needed to worry about the girls. Vicky calmed the guy down and said that there was no need to worry about their girlfriends. Yuri realized that the mercenary was right. He decided that he didn't have to worry about his girlfriends. Yuri looked at the girls running away and realized that he believed in them. The main character was surprised to notice on TV that his girlfriends had been taken hostage by terrorists. Yuri was very upset. He couldn't understand how the girls from the murder clan could get caught so easily. The main character, sitting near the TV, told his girlfriend that they also need to go to school. Vicky asked the guy in fear, "Do they really need to go too?" Yuri asked the frightened girl in surprise, "What is she thinking about?" The main character grabbed the interlocutor's hands and told her that they must go and save their friends. Vicky looked down. She felt excited. The main character looked at her confidently. Terrorist Alejandro was waiting. He knew that friends would come to save Lizzie. The main edge, together with his girlfriend, crawled through the school ventilation. The girl thought it was cramped here. Vicky could barely move along the ventilation pipe. It was very difficult for her to move. Yuri asked the girl if everything was okay with her. Vicky told the guy to keep following her. The main character continued to carefully crawl behind his girlfriend in the ventilation pipe. Vicky suddenly stopped crawling. The main character bumped into her from behind. Yuri said with a smile that crawling in the ventilation is not as easy as they show in the movies. Vicky told the guy displeasedly that she thought he would have at least some kind of plan. Gradually they approached the place where the hostages were. Unexpectedly, the girlfriend kicked the main character on the head with all her might. Vicky turned around and looked at the guy. She realized that she had accidentally touched him with her foot. Yuri said with a smile to his interlocutor that if she is with him, then something must come out of this. Vicky turned around. She looked at the main character for a long time and with a smile. Yuri noticed that his girlfriend's face was red. She asked, "Is she hot?" Vicky kicked the guy in the head with all her might. She shouted that it was no big deal. The mercenary told the main character to remain silent and focus on the task. The girl crawled to the bars. She saw people from below and became worried. Vicky whispered excitedly to the main character that she had found girlfriends. Vicky noticed how their girlfriends were sitting below, tied up. She noticed that they were not hurt yet. The main character wanted to look at the hostages with surprise and great interest. Yuri tried to turn over to see what was happening below. Vicky said displeasedly to the guy that he was annoying her. She asked if he sees girlfriends. Yuri was lying close next to his girlfriend. They were very uncomfortable. Vicky dissatisfiedly asked the guy, "What is he talking about now?" She was very uncomfortable. Yuri happily told his disgruntled girlfriend that he could still move. The main character heard the leader from below tell the girl Lizzie that he had planned that she would come to him. Alejandro told his interlocutor that she had brought someone else with her. Yuri and Vicky listened attentively. Alejandro angrily asked the girl if she was Benjamin Springfield's daughter. The leader told the girl that he was asking for his forgiveness for involving her in the affairs of adults. Lizzie sat on the floor silently next to Benji. Alejandro told the girl that he would let her go unharmed when all this was over. Lizzie was surprised. She couldn't understand how it was that the leader was talking about this to Benji Springfield herself right in front of his eyes. The girl slyly told Lizzie that last time she beat Alejandro well. Benji told the girl that was why they had to go for the kill. Lizzie angrily asked her interlocutor, why is she accusing her of this now? Benji shouted to the girl that if she had come alone, the terrorists would have been dead long ago. Lizzie hit the mercenary and screamed at her to shut up. Lizzie very angrily asked the leader, what does he want from them? Alejandro told the surprised interlocutor that she was a tool for negotiations. The main characters, together with their girlfriend, realized that the situation was getting worse. Vicky understood that Alejandro wanted to negotiate with the president, who was now lying unconscious on the floor. Vicky looked at the main character and asked excitedly, does he really want the president to be killed? Vicky told the main character that the terrorists could contact Madam. The interlocutor explained to the main character that Elizabeth Springfield is Lizzie's mother. This woman can be considered the monarch of their clan. Yuri suggested informing Madam about everything as soon as possible. Vicky shouted at the guy to forget about it. The main character fearfully shouted to his interlocutor that the result could be terrifying. Vicky informed the main character that it might already be very late. The mercenary told the main character that it would be easier if Lizzie's mother knew about this situation. Yuri became worried. He looked at his interlocutor with great disbelief. Lizzie asked the leader to tell her what he wanted from her. Alejandro looked at the girl and said that it would be fair if he told her everything. The man knelt down and told the girl that in any case, all this was not a secret. Alejandro began to very seriously tell his interlocutor what he wanted. The leader told the girl that he wanted Victoria White returned to his clan. Yuri and the girl were surprised when they heard this. The main character was surprised. He couldn't understand why Alejandro was his girlfriend. The mercenary Victoria became very worried. She didn't understand why leader Alejandro needed her. The manager told the young girl that she had a new task. She must get close to the person and force information out of him. The interlocutor handed the girl the documents and told her sternly that failure would not be tolerated. The guy introduced the new mercenary to the boss. The man asked the girl if she was new who joined them. The man told the girl that he was very pleased to meet her. He asked her name. The mercenary stood and remembered something to herself. The main character called his girlfriend in a whisper. Yuri told his friend that she looked a bit gloomy. The girl answered with a smile to the guy that she was completely fine. The main character whispered to the girl that everything was fine with them, but their friends were feeling bad. Vicky became very worried. She realized that her friends would have to help. The militants held the mercenaries at gunpoint. Yuri told Vicky that they had to do something. Alejandro told the girl that he wanted to exchange her for Victoria. Lizzie asked the leader what he was going to do with this girl. Alejandro demanded that the wiki be handed over to him. The leader looked at the girl with displeasure. She said that she doesn't know what they didn't share with Vicky. Alejandro sternly told her interlocutor that Vicky clearly did not want to return to him. Unexpectedly, Benji rudely told the man that he should speak clearly. The mercenary explained that they did not take Victoria. The girl came to them herself. The leader asked his interlocutor who she was. Lizzie was very excited. Lizzie smiled and explained to the leader that Benji knew more than she did. Alejandro decided that Benji was the assistant to the leader of a sect of assassins. The mercenary repeated again and said that Victoria herself came to them. The main character and his girlfriend listened to the conversation. Yuri realized that Vicky herself ran away from Alejandro. The main character became worried. He understood why the girl had reacted so strangely before. Vicky explained to her interlocutor that all this was due to the fact that she had been exposed earlier. The mercenary reported that she herself told Alejandro that she was a spy in his organization. Vicky told the main character that she had already told about this man. Vicky infiltrated the organization as a child. She had a close relationship with the leader. Vicky kept her identity a secret for a very long time. She decided that she would be together with Alejandro and confessed to him. The girl said in a sad voice that Alejandro still did not accept her. Because Vicky revealed herself, she had to run away. She could no longer return to her original organization. The girl was left completely alone. She needed to look for a new organization. At this moment, unexpectedly for the wiki, the opportunity for real help appeared. The president of the organization of assassins decided to take the girl Vicky to his place. The main character understood why Alejandro reacted so callously. Benji sternly told the leader that Victoria trusted him and revealed her true identity. The man himself refused her feelings. The mercenary said that Alejandro did all this with disgust. The man got angry. The leader was very angry. He shouted to the girl that he almost shot her without knowing it. Alejandro told his interlocutor excitedly that he did not kick Victoria out. He asked the mercenary, how dare she tell him such nonsense? The man shouted angrily that he had not for a second forgotten about Vicky's confession. The leader explained that the girl had revealed her identity to him. This means that she accepted him as her own father. The man explained that he knew perfectly well what the girl was doing. Vicky listened silently to her former boss. Alejandro asked Benji, does she really take him for a fool? Yuri listened with great excitement. Alejandro shouted loudly that he knew very well that Vicky was a spy. The leader decided to shoot with his cane. He pointed it at the girl. Benji was scared. She realized that Alejandro wanted to kill her now. The leader held a weapon in his hands. He wanted to tell about the secret that Victoria told him. Suddenly there was a very loud noise. Vicky fell out of the ventilation pipe from above along with her friend. Benji and the leader turned to the side in surprise. They didn't understand what had happened. Lizzie and Benji stood silently. Alejandro looked and could not understand who had just fallen to them. The leader realized that he knew the girl who had just fallen out of the ventilation pipe. The main character saw in front of him his old acquaintance Victoria. The main character lay below her. The terrorists, along with the mercenaries, looked in surprise at the appearance of Vicky and Yuri. The girls could not understand why their friends fell from above. Benji decided that the main character and his girlfriend were watching them. Vicky shouted very loudly to the guy that she was in pain. He was very embarrassed. Yuri lay and looked at his girlfriend's legs. He felt very shy. Lizzie was very angry. Vicky explained to her friend that it was all an accident and she needed to calm down. The leader was very angry. He could not understand where and why the guy and the girl came from. Alejandro very angrily asked Victoria why she appeared here. The mercenary angrily pointed at the man and reminded him of her words. The leader shouted to the girl that he wanted to take her with him. Vicky told the interlocutor not to say anything stupid. The girl angrily told Alejandro that she remembered his words that day. Vicky reminded the man of his shock and reaction to her words that day. Victoria reminded the man that he abandoned her, and now wants to take her back. Alejandro wanted to justify himself. The man explained to his surprised interlocutor that before it was all a misunderstanding. The man explained that he was shocked at that moment and did not know what to do. The leader said that he tried to restrain his joyful emotions, therefore he was very happy. The mercenaries were very surprised when they heard such words from Alejandro. Victoria also did not expect such revelations from her former leader. Yuri stood next to her. The armed guards were very surprised by such revelations from the leader. Victoria was very surprised. She shouted very loudly at the man. Vicky grabbed the leader's clothes with her hand. She shouted at him not to fool her. The man said excitedly to the girl that it was drama in the family of stupid people. Alejandro strictly demanded from the girl that she return to them. Vicky answered the man that she would not return to such a weakling. The mercenary asked the leader angrily if he knew how much she suffered after that incident. Vicky told the frightened man that she chooses where she stays. Alejandro asked the girl in a calm voice, does she really want to stay with these Springfield mercenaries? Vicky shouted to the man that she wanted to show him why. She grabbed the main character by the clothes. Victoria shouted to the leader that she would not be with him. Lizzie was very angry. Vicky pulled the main character towards her and very unexpectedly kissed him. Yuri and the people around were very surprised. They did not expect such actions from the mercenary. After the kiss, the girl decided to explain everything to the people around her. Vicky held the main character in her arms. She said that she decided to stay with him. The girls were very surprised. They looked at the wiki in surprise. Victoria explained that the main character is very determined and brave. Vicky explained to Alejandro that it was too late to go back. The leader got angry after hearing the words from the girl. He clutched his cane nervously. Alejandro started shooting in all directions. He shouted that he couldn't come to terms with this. Lizzie was very surprised. She couldn't understand why the man was so upset over the loss of his wiki. The main character noticed that the militants were distracted. He realized that the time had come to act. Yuri took off and ran at full speed towards the terrorists. The main character began to untie the captives. They were very surprised. Alejandro shouted that there was no way Vicky's girl could fall in love with the main character. Benji looked slyly at the man and said that she understood his feelings. The mercenary hit the leader with all her might. She shouted that he should take a break from his hysterics. Alejandro screamed very angry and disappointed. He realized that he could not return the girl. Benji thought happily to herself that the man could not successfully follow the planned path. The mercenary turned around and thought that there might have been a moment when Alejandro began to think of Victoria as his child. Benji looked to the side and noticed how Lizzie ran up to her boyfriend. The mercenary watched in surprise as Lizzie was very angry as she stood next to the main character. The girl grabbed Victoria with all her strength. A frightened Yuri stood nearby. Benji watched happily as Lizzie was finally able to meet her boyfriend. Suddenly, the mercenary began to have exciting thoughts. She thought. Benji suddenly realized with excitement that the main character had come to save them. Lizzie at that time wanted to kiss her boyfriend. Benji thought to herself that they weren't aiming at the main character, but bullets were flying everywhere. The mercenary thought that the main character had the talent to take a step forward. At this time, a girl I knew arrived in the city. She was traveling with her suitcase. The stranger with the black hood looked at the photograph very carefully. The girl saw the image of the main character. She studied him carefully. The stranger approached the school gates. She carried her suitcase through the entrance. The girl remembered the main character. She thought that the two of them were pathetic and indecisive. The stranger remembered that she and the guy couldn't even tell each other what they wanted. The girl was very angry because their relationship had come to an end. The stranger remembered the guy. She thought to herself that they were very lonely. The girl walked along with her suitcase. She decided that she would do everything to ensure that this never happened again. The stranger carried a weapon in her hands. She decided that she wanted to become stronger. The girl thought to herself that she could figure out their relationship. As a result, the mercenary stood near the entrance to the school and looked at her. She realized that this day had come. The main character was with his girlfriends. He told the girls that this could all end badly. Benji told her interlocutors that they almost revealed their identities. They were somehow able to come out clean from all of this. The mercenary looked at the main character and asked if he knew how old she was. Yuri opened the door to the locker. Benji told the guy that she should have dealt with Alejandro back then. The main character had some things and a message in his school box. Yuri looked at the mailbox and was very surprised. He did not understand what lay there. The main character was surprised to realize that in front of him was a letter from nowhere. Yuri couldn't figure out who could have put the letter in his mailbox. He decided that it could be one of the girls. The main character stood annoyed near the mailbox. He thought. Yuri thought to himself that Benji would definitely not use such methods. The main character realized that his worst fears turned out to be true. The mercenary asked the guy sternly, "Why is he behaving strangely?" Yuri asked the girl what she meant. The mercenary told the guy angrily that such a reaction makes him even more suspicious. Yuri tried to justify himself. Lizzie looked at her friend with excitement. Lizzie looked to the side and thought. She began to suspect the main character about something. Yuri sat in the classroom and carefully watched how the lesson passed. The main character sat silently at his desk. He heard his friends decide to go to the store. Yuri happily thought to himself that he was left alone and had free time. The main character took out a love letter. He decided to read it now. The girlfriend approached the main character and called him by name. He was very scared. Lizzie asked her friend with excitement, "Why is he looking at that?" Yuri answered fearfully that he was not looking at anything. The girlfriend looked at the guy with excitement and said that he had his reasons. She added that she would not insist. Lizzie reminded the main character that he himself told her that they could solve difficulties together. The girlfriend told the guy that he would definitely have to understand this. Lizzie told her friend with a smile that when he understands, he will talk to her about it. Yuri was silent. He looked at his girlfriend with great excitement. The girl turned around and began to leave. She told the guy that they would see each other later. Lizzie realized to herself that the main character was hiding something from her now. Yuri held a compressed letter in his hand under his desk. He waited for his girlfriend to leave. The main character was left sitting alone at his desk. He was deep in thought. Yuri was walking down the street with his girlfriends. Benji, I asked my interlocutor, what was that? Lizzie told the mercenary that she herself did not tell her anything when she was little. The main character walked and thought about his own things. Lizzie asked Benji displeasedly, has she really decided to raise her only daughter to be a killer? Yuri listened to his girlfriends talking. Benji replied dissatisfied to her interlocutor, that all this sounds amazing. Suddenly the guy stopped. He wanted to tell his girlfriend something. They stopped and looked at him. The main character was holding a mysterious message in his hands. The girls looked at him carefully. Yuri explained to his interlocutors that he found this love letter in the morning. The main character explained to the girls in fear that something like this had never happened before. Unexpectedly, the main character saw someone suspicious nearby. Yuri noticed a girl approaching him along the way. He began to recognize her. The stranger was approaching the guy. The girlfriends asked the guy, what did he want to say about the rest? The girl came up and told the guy that he had to finish speaking. She asked if Yuri was still so timid. Benji and Lizzie were very surprised. They did not know who had just approached them. The stranger looked at the guy with burning eyes and called the main character by name. The girl looked menacingly at the main character and said that he needed to return. Yuri was very surprised. He could not understand who he now saw in front of him. Benji approached the stranger. She asked her displeasedly, who is she to say anything here? The mercenary put her hand on the girl's shoulder and turned to her with a request. Unexpectedly, the stranger abruptly removed the mercenary's hand. Benji was very surprised. Benji fearfully realized that her opponent was much stronger than her. The girlfriend shouted to the main character that he would not be able to cope with the stranger. The girl threw Lizzie aside with all her strength. The girl was sitting on the ground. Lizzie looked at her rival very angrily. She didn't like that she came without warning. The girl threw herself on top of the stranger and shouted that she dared to raise her hand to her. Yuri and the mercenary were very scared and amazed. They both screamed. Lizzie tried to hit the stranger. She very quickly defended herself with a sword. The girl very angrily said that she only had business with Yuri. She told Lizzie to stay away from her. The stranger shouted that she was not as simple as she seemed. She advised that Lizzie back off. The girl jumped back. Benji fearfully told the main character that Lizzie would not be able to help him in such a situation. The mercenary explained to the main character that Lizzie was taught exclusively to kill a target. Benji told the disgruntled protagonist that the stranger is really strong. The mercenary said judiciously that the girl who came was clearly not going to kill anyone. Benji looked at the stranger and said that she was really stronger than Liza. The girl looked at the main character and said that we need to return to the topic under discussion. Yuri plucked up courage and asked his interlocutor who she was. The girl asked the guy, didn't he read her letters? The stranger said with a smile to the main character that he had not changed at all. Yuri took the letter and began to study it carefully. Benji watched in surprise as the guy held the letter in his hands. The stranger said that the main character behaves just like before. The girl told the surprised main character that he was absolutely the same. The stranger told the guy that he, like her, always goes very far. Yuri asked the girl with excitement if her name was Udahi. The interlocutor answered the guy that it was her. Udahi reminded the guy that she ran away from him because of his obedience. The interlocutor sternly told the guy that she never forgot about that day. She added that she hasn't cut her hair since then. Udahi hit the ground with her sword in front of her surprised interlocutors. She told the guy that she decided to change for him. The interlocutor told the main character that he could not change, so she became stronger instead of him. Udahi reached out and told the guy that now it was time to get back to the relationship they were supposed to be in. The main character was very amazed and surprised. He looked at the girl in disbelief. Benji became bolder. She ran up to the stranger at full speed and wanted to tell her something. The mercenary told the stranger that there is a time and place for everything. She added that the person's consent had to be asked first. Benji, I asked my interlocutor strictly, is it right to do this? Unexpectedly Udahi took out her sword with all her strength and suddenly hit Benji with it. The girl pierced the mercenary. She said joyfully that she was waiting for this. Udahi added that she had to spend a lot of time on this. The interlocutor shouted to the main character that she would no longer allow herself to be deceived. She added that she will no longer fall for his unassuming personality. Benji was lying on the ground. Dahi told the guy that she didn't come to make a deal or make a confession. She and Yuri lost this chance 2 years ago. The main character looked at the girl in fear. Dahi told the guy that she came here to pick him up. The main character, together with his girlfriends, ran home and opened the door through the intercom. Benji lay exhausted on the floor. Lizzie asked the guy in an exhausted voice what was wrong with his girlfriend. Dahi appeared out of nowhere and immediately started a fight. She was very strong, but she was not one of the hired killers. Lizzie asked the main character, where did the girl she knows nothing about come from? The main character became wary. He decided to tell his interlocutors the whole truth. Yuri told the girls that he used to be a very indecisive person. The main character knew Dahi from middle school. They had a good relationship for 3 years. Benji was very angry and did not like the story from the main character. She called it very banal. The main character was unhappy. He couldn't understand why his interlocutor didn't like his story. Vicky said that the main character did not understand his girlfriend's feelings and that's why she got angry. She added that this story is common. Yuri didn't understand why his girlfriend went so far. Victoria explained to the guy that women's anger is different from men's. Benji shouted goodbye to the main character that in any case he was to blame. The girl Lizzie looked at her friend silently and with great attention. Lizzie asked the strictly criminal hero if he had feelings for his girlfriend Dahi. Yuri excitedly explained to his interlocutor that he was so timid that he couldn't even imagine that someone could like him. The main character thought he wanted to tell his girlfriend something else important. Suddenly a loud siren was heard in the house. The guy and the girls got worried. People saw through the surveillance system that Dahi was able to get through the fence. Lizzie was surprised that they had such surveillance equipment. The main character answered his interlocutor that they were in the house of a hired killer. Vicky shouted angrily that she would not tolerate such an attack. Yuri wanted to warn his girlfriend. The maid ran as fast as she could. She shouted to her friends to stay put. The main character saw how Dahi grabbed the maid with her hand. He shouted that he knew this would happen. Yuri thought to himself that Vicky would never be able to win against such an opponent. Dahi angrily shouted at the frightened protagonist to come out now. The interlocutor explained that all this concerns only the two of them. She added so that Yuri would no longer run and hide. The girl told the main character that he must understand that all this is his fault. Lizzie was very angry. She didn't like what Dahi was talking about. The girl came up and shouted to her rival that she had appeared out of nowhere and didn't even want to listen. Lizzie pointed a stern finger at her interlocutor and said that she was very self-centered. Dahi replied with a smile that she had nothing else to listen to. She added that third parties should stay away. Lizzie looked sternly at her interlocutor and said that she and Yuri had a special relationship. Dahi said judiciously to her interlocutor that she does not know Yuri's true identity. The girl decided to tell all the details about the boy named Yuri. A friend said that the main character was surrounded by indecision. Yuri never decided everything on his own. He also never did anything of his own free will. Dahi, I asked my surprised interlocutor if she was the first to confess to the main character. The interlocutor explained to the girl that Yuri did not choose her because he liked her. Dahi explained that the main character started dating his girlfriend because she chose him first. The main character was upset. He realized that he would have to explain everything to his girlfriend. Lizzie was very angry. The main character approached her and put his hand on her shoulder. The girlfriend turned to the main character in surprise. Yuri sadly answered his interlocutor that Dahi was completely right. The main character looked at the girl with a sad look and said that all this happened because of him. Lizzie looked at her friend with excitement. The main character wanted to explain everything to her. Yuri boldly and decisively told his girlfriend that he had to decide everything himself. The main character walked decisively towards his familiar Dahi. Lizzie ran frightenedly after her friend. The main character said that he had to do it himself. Yuri said that he should have cleared up the misunderstanding right away. Dahi was very surprised. She didn't understand how the guy had to explain something to her. The girl smiled evilly and looked at the main character. She thought he was funny. Dahi laughed very loudly and unpleasantly. She was amused by the guy's behavior. The girl explained to the main character that he always tried to get around the problem itself. Dahi, I angrily asked the guy how he was trying to deal with the problem this time. The girl slammed her foot into the ground with all her might and cracks appeared. She shouted that she would not allow this to happen again. Dahi sped up and shouted to the main character that she would force him to accept her. The The girlfriend ran at full speed towards the guy. She was waving a stick. Yuri was not at all afraid. He calmly looked at the girl's weapon in front of him. Dahi swung her stick. The main character managed to jump to the side in time. The girl was very surprised. She couldn't understand how the guy was able to evade. Dahi got very angry. She didn't like that Yuri was able to quickly and deftly dodge. The girl continued to wave the stick in all directions. The guy dodged very cleverly. Dahi shouted to the main character that he was just lucky. Lizzie was surprised. She noticed that her friend suddenly had talent. Benji said happily that Yuri has the talent that is necessary for people like them. Unexpectedly, the main character stumbled on the ground. He began to fall backwards. The girls watched as the main character dodged the blows. One of them said that Yuri has talent. Lizzie was very worried about her friend. Benji said the guy was completely fine. The mercenary said judiciously that the guy was becoming more and more nervous. Benji looked at Dahi in surprise and commented on the way she fought. Dahi looked at the main character with great surprise. She remembered that the guy had been completely different before. The girl was very surprised. She didn't understand what had already happened to the protagonist's indecisiveness. The girl swung her stick with all her might. She prepared to crush the guy. The battle on the street between the main character and his girlfriend is over. Yuri was lying on the ground. His exhausted rival was sitting on the ground next to him. The main character asked the interlocutor if she had finished and was that enough? Yuri told the girl that she could continue as long as she wanted and as long as she wanted. He reminded her that he was at fault 2 years ago. The main character put his hands on the shoulders of his interlocutor. He said he had to take responsibility. Yuri told the surprised girl that he would now say what he should have said before. The main character looked at his girlfriend with excitement and said what he thought. Yuri smiled and told his friend that it would be better if they remained friends. Dahi was surprised. She could not understand what happened to her friend. The girl decided not to fight anymore. She threw her weapon to the ground. Lizzie and Benji were very surprised and amazed. They looked at the Dahi in surprise. Dahi felt exhausted. She didn't understand what happened to the main character since then. She looked at Lizzie and Benji. The girl realized that, most likely, the main character was influenced by his girlfriend. She turned to the side. Lizzie stood. She looked at Dahi with hatred and very angrily. She was completely lost in thought. Dahi cupped her face in her hands. She realized that her friend had changed a lot lately. Yuri came over. He looked at his girlfriend with great surprise and called her by name. Unexpectedly, the girlfriend swung her hand and hit the main character in the face with all her might. Dahi told the surprised guy that he had done a very good job on himself. The girlfriend explained to the main character that if he had said this at the very beginning, then everything would have been fine. Lizzie listened carefully to what the girl said. Dahi told the main character that he had finally become human. The girl looked displeased at her friend and said that he no longer belonged to her. Late at night, the main character was relaxing at home with his girlfriends. Benji opened the door to the bedroom. She examined the guy very carefully. The mercenary looked at the main character and realized that during his sleep he looked like an ordinary boy. Benji thought excitedly to herself that Yuri had very rare skills. The mercenary called someone on the phone and said that she would need help. Benji was talking on the phone. She looked very carefully to the side at the sleeping guy. The mercenary told someone on the phone that if they delayed this, it would become a big problem for them. Yuri was sitting with his girlfriends on the porch. They were discussing a school trip. The main character drank juice and listened to how the girls communicated with each other. Lizzie said displeasedly that a school trip at such a time looked suspicious. Benji replied to her interlocutor that now is the most appropriate time. The girl said very excitedly that the school had just recently been subjected to a terrorist attack. Benji very slyly told her interlocutor that it would not be true if she said that she does not sponsor someone. Lizzie was very angry. Lizzie shouted very angrily to the mercenary that she would not forgive her if she did something stupid. Benji very slyly told her interlocutor that she would not do anything during the school trip. The main character listened very carefully. He was very much affected by the words about the school trip. Yuri was very worried. Something greatly alarmed and frightened him. The mercenary told the main character that he didn't need to be so nervous. Yuri pointed to something with his finger to the side with great fear. The guy and his girlfriends looked very carefully at the glass of the door. There was someone there. Dahi stood close to the glass and carefully looked at her interlocutors. The girl stood near the glass and continued to call the main character by name. Yuri stood surprised along with his girlfriends. They did not understand what Dahi was doing. The girl stood close to the glass. She continued to look at the guy with a loving gaze. Dahi stood close to the glass and continued to touch it with her tongue. The main character became worried. He pointed his finger to the side and could not understand what was happening. Dahi saw that the main character was pointing his finger at her. She pointed back with her finger. Dahi showed with her gesture to the main character that she seemed to have shot at him. Lizzie ran up and kicked the door with all her might. She shouted for Dahi to get out. The girl asked her rival what she was doing here. Dahi replied that she transferred to this school. Dahi said with a smile that she came back to see the main character. She added that Yuri has changed a lot. Lizzie looked at her interlocutor with great attention and hatred. The girl accelerated and ran at full speed. She shouted that it was pleasant in its own way. Dahi flew over the school floor. She shouted that she and the main character had become new people. Lizzie hit the girl from behind and told her to stop interfering in other people's relationships. Dahi turned around and told her interlocutor that she lacked logic in what she was saying. Dahi, I asked Lizzie why she doesn't drive away Benji, who is always next to them. The girl said that Lizzie only increases her attractiveness when she keeps her underdeveloped girlfriend nearby. The interlocutor sternly replied that Dahi should not say anything stupid and go to her class. The girl was distracted. She heard the school bell ring. Dahi waved his hand to his interlocutor. Lizzie asked the girl where her energy had gone. The girl stopped. She looked out and asked her interlocutor, what did she say? Dahi cunningly explained that she still had logic, but her reluctance and weakness were gone. The girl looked slyly at her interlocutor and said that she was not easy at all. She told the angry Lizzie that she lacked femininity. Standing near the door, Dahi waved goodbye to her interlocutors. The main character, together with his girlfriends, looked with surprise after the leaving girl. Benji sat and looked at the main character. She thought about what happened. The mercenary looked at the guy. He was very excited. He sat and trembled. Benji turned around and looked out the window. She noticed Dahi there far away. The mercenary realized that the school trip would be very hellish for the main character. The main character and his friends arrived at the big airport building. Yuri happily thought to himself that this day had finally come for him. The main character has a serious problem on the first day of an important school trip. Yuri felt problems with his body. He went to the toilet to quickly relieve himself. The main character was sitting in a booth by himself. He understood that he would not be able to get out quickly. Yuri was very dissatisfied and angry with himself. He didn't understand why this happened. The guy was sitting on top of the toilet. He thought to himself that he had eaten something wrong. The main character recalled how he and his girlfriends had breakfast together. The guy very clearly remembered the dish, which was filled with white rice. The main character clearly realized that Benji added something to his food and that is why he now feels bad. Yuri was very worried. He realized that the mercenary was to blame for his misfortune. The main character realized that Benji had planned everything so that he would not catch the plane. After this he will miss the school trip. Yuri became very angry and nervous. He realized that he needed to get out of the booth. The main character began to unwind the paper. He thought angrily to himself that Benji was looking down on him. Yuri opened the door to the booth with all his might. He realized that he needed to go on the plane. The main character loudly shouted to himself that this scheme will no longer work. Yuri looked very carefully at his ticket. He noticed that his plane was leaving at 11 o'clock and 5 minutes. The main character looked at his watch and saw with horror that it was already 11 o'clock and 3 minutes. Yuri accelerated and ran at full speed to the exit of the plane. The main character told himself that he could lose Benji before it all started. The girl at the entrance shouted to the guy that the plane would take off soon. She asked him to hurry up. In the end, Yuri made it to his plane on time. He took off joyfully. The main character sat calmly in a chair. He repeated to himself that he had caught his flight. The guy decided to share the good news with his girlfriend. He shouted to Lizzie that he was able to reveal the plan. Yuri suddenly became worried. The main character looked around and noticed that he was sitting completely alone on the plane. The mercenary asked the surprised guy with interest, "Who is he looking for?" Benji looked at the guy from the top bunk and said that she still didn't look down on him. The mercenary looked at the guy angrily and said that she expected him to go that far. Yuri calmly looked at his interlocutor. Benji shouted to the guy that she would deal with him before he got to the goals of his visit. The mercenary with a knife in her hand shouted angrily to the guy that she would get rid of him. Dahi suddenly appeared. she angrily shouted to the girl that she would not allow the guy to be offended. The girl hit the mercenary with all her might. She flew far away in the cabin of the plane. The main character was surprised. Dahi told the mercenary that she watched what she was doing. Benji was very surprised by the girl's appearance. She said there couldn't be any other passengers here. The mercenary was unpleasantly surprised. She looked with hatred at the girl who appeared. Benji angrily asked the girl how she was able to get here. The interlocutor answered menacingly that her name was Dahi. The interlocutor was dissatisfied and asked Daka how she was able to get on the plane. The girl smiled in response. The girlfriend began to follow the main character even when he was in the toilet stall. Dahi angrily shouted that she wanted Yuri to belong only to her. The mercenary shouted to her interlocutor that she was talking a lot. The main character was surprised. He asked the girls in fear what they were doing. The girlfriends prepared to fight among themselves. Benji attacked her opponent with all her might and speed. They fought desperately. The main character was amazed. He saw before him an amazing battle between girlfriends. The girls fought among themselves using various weapons. They didn't pay attention to anything. Unexpectedly, Dahi hit one button in the cockpit with her stick and broke it. A blow to the control panel caused the plane to begin to lose control. The girls were scared. Light disappeared briefly on board the plane. People looked at each other with excitement. Due to damage to the control system, the airliner began to pitch to the ground. The passengers were scared. At this time, Lizzie's girlfriend was on the ground at the airport. She didn't have time to board the plane. My friend stood scared at the airport and looked around. She thought about the main character. Vicky was talking on the phone with her interlocutor. She said that the president is not even thinking about giving up. Victoria said in a telephone conversation that she had nothing to do with this. Lizzie asked her friend to come and pick her up. After a long conversation, Vicky answered her interlocutor that she would be there right away. At this time, the main character, together with his girlfriends, fell from a great height on an airplane. The aircraft system signaled that the autopilot system had failed. The emergency landing began. The girl was very scared. The main character was next to her. There was a red light all around. Yuri clung to his girlfriend in fear. He didn't understand why everything had to end this way. The airliner continued to fall from a great height. There was a lot of smoke coming from it in the sky. The plane crashed onto an island somewhere in the ocean. People were able to survive. Passengers got off the plane. The main character said that he was surprised that they survived. The friend replied that it was an emergency landing and not a crash. Yuri asked the girl in bewilderment, where did they end up? Dahi told the guy in a joyful voice that they were like an eloping couple. The guy asked his interlocutor if they landed. Does this mean that they reached their destination? They must be on the Springfield's private property. Benji answered the guy angrily and with a smile that he was absolutely right. The mercenary told her surprised interlocutors that they had landed on Earth, which their clan was proud of. Benji explained that they were at the training ground. She explained that only the sole survivor could escape from here. The mercenary angrily told her companions that they were on the island of the Hunger Games. Benji angrily told the guy that today professional killers would conduct training like a battle royale. Yuri was very scared after the girl's words. The girl took out a knife. She angrily told the guy that the other mercenaries would not get to them. Benji turned around and angrily shouted to the main character that he would die at her hands. Suddenly the clothes on the girl's body were revealed. Dahi said dissatisfied to her interlocutor that even she did not take such a step. The mercenary changed into a very beautiful swimsuit. She prepared to attack the guy further. Benji told the main character that she was done with it. She shouted for Yuri to stand still. The mercenary wanted to finish off the main character with a blade. The guy very quickly managed to run away into the forest. The main character scaredly told his girlfriend that they shouldn't waste time now. Yuri realized that there was no time to waste at all. He grabbed his girlfriend with his hand and pulled her along with him. The girl thought, it seemed to her that the main character was behaving rudely to her. Dahi watched with great excitement as the main character pulled her along with him. The girl happily thought that the guy right at that moment belonged to her. The girlfriend looked at the guy with a very loving look. She told him to continue. The girl excitedly shouted to the main character to wait. The girlfriend warned the main character that she could lose her clothes like Benji if they run too fast. The main character wanted to say something to the girl. Suddenly he became very worried. Yuri noticed how his girlfriend began to undress little by little. He became excited and agitated. The girl told the guy that she needed to change clothes. She added that she would not be able to put on her swimsuit herself. Dahi looked at the main character and asked him to give her a helping hand. The main character looked at his undressed girlfriend. He didn't know what to tell her. The girl asked the main character if he would help her. The main character thought in fear that he would like someone to help him. In the evening, a plane arrived on the uninhabited island. These girls came to help their friends. The mercenaries were on the shore. One of the girls said that it had been a long time since she had been here. Vicky told her friend to put on the bracelet. It will protect her from losing consciousness due to the electromagnetic field. Victoria said that their friends made an emergency landing at this place. She added that the other assassins must be in the middle of training and that they must be careful. Lizzie pointed her finger to the side and told her surprised friend that she did not consider this necessary. The girls looked at the lying body. Victoria asked in fear, "Who could do this?" Lizzie replied that it was all obvious. The girls walked along the ground past the body. Lizzie said that in this way they could understand where their friends had gone. The girlfriends made their way through the forest, using the bodies of the mercenaries as signposts. The girls walked and looked at the bodies of the mercenaries. One of them said that all this looks creepy, even if the president decided to do this to his people. There was an electromagnetic field on one part of the island. It extended from the edge to the middle. Suddenly the girls saw something interesting in the distance. They took a closer look. Lizzie told her companion that they had come a long way. She added that they needed to hurry before it was all too late. The girlfriends saw that there was some kind of building on the island. They decided to approach him. Lizzie was scared and noticed that Yuri was in the building along with Benji and Dahi. The main character and the mercenary were very surprised when they saw Lizzie nearby. The girl asked Vicky, did she really betray her? Victoria asked her interlocutor, since when was she on their side? Lizzie angrily shouted to the mercenary that this time she would not spare her. She added, which will put an end to it once and for all. Benji was scared. She held the gun in her hands and realized that it would now be very difficult for her. Benji looked at her embittered rival in fear. She realized that she was surrounded. The mercenary stuck her hand into her swimsuit and shouted that she had nothing more to lose. Benji was holding the remote control. She shouted that she didn't mean to do this. The mercenary activated the magnetic field enhancement. Changes began on the island. Victoria shouted that Benji had increased the electromagnetic field strength to maximum. The girl felt that she was becoming unwell due to the magnetic field. Dahi fell to the ground. She felt sick in her body. Due to the powerful magnetic field, the girl could no longer stand up or move. Lizzie and Victoria looked in surprise at what was happening to the girl. Benji explained to her rivals that they were feeling a special stimulation now. The mercenary told Strictly's interlocutors that they would be able to withstand the electromagnetic field only if they were as trained as she was. The main character felt himself being pulled to the ground. He glanced at his girlfriend. Yuri looked at the girl with excitement. She shouted in a weak voice that she had gone too far. The guy excitedly called his girlfriend, Dahi, lying on the ground, whispered that she would protect Yuri. The main character continued to hear the voice of his girlfriend, who promised to protect him. Lizzie came up. She looked with great attention at the girl lying on the ground. A mercenary approached from the side and asked the surprised Lizzie, what distracted her. Benji ran up and hit the girl in the face with all her might. Lizzie noticed with horror how the mercenary brought a metal bracelet to her. Benji was holding an electromagnetic field blocker in her hands. He helped escape from radiation. Lizzie felt how the radiation pulled her towards the earth with all its strength. The mercenary threw the bracelet aside. She told her rivals angrily that it was all over now. Benji glanced to the side. She decided it was time to return to her main goal. Suddenly the mercenary heard a very suspicious noise from the side. She looked around in fright. The girl noticed how someone was rushing towards her at great speed. She was frightened. Benji was very scared. She could not understand who could overcome electromagnetic radiation. At the last moment, the mercenary noticed the main character in front of her. She was amazed. Benji was very surprised by the appearance of the guy. She didn't understand how he was able to move. Yuri knocked the mercenary down. He shouted cheerfully that he was moving with great difficulty. The main character said with a smile that after the words from the girl, he could no longer simply do nothing. Dahi was lying on the ground. She turned around and looked at the main character with great excitement. The mercenary angrily demanded that the guy get off her. Yuri said that Benji should feel everything for herself. Benji felt that she could no longer stand it because the guy hugged her. The mercenary lay there and moaned in a hoarse voice. The main character became worried. Lizzie, a girl, ran up from the side. She called the guy. The main character noticed that the mercenary had lost consciousness. Yuri and her companions flew away from the island on a seaplane. Lizzie told the main character that he took on a lot. The mercenary was tied up. The girl explained to Yuri that everything could have ended very badly. The main character asked for forgiveness. Dahi was sitting aside. She carefully watched how the guy communicated with his girlfriend. The pilot advised that they needed to fasten their seatbelts as they were taking off. Yuri turned to the side and thanked his interlocutor with a smile. Dahi sat and looked down in front of her. She was silent. One of her friends asked Yuri if he was listening to her. The girl sat and thoughtfully thought to herself that the guy always behaves harshly. The plane with people continued to fly over the water. The girl thought that the main character was really sharp. The main character and his girlfriends were walking down the street. The sky was sunny. The students walked through the city. They had a school trip abroad. The walk along the street took place according to the planned schedule. Yuri was very happy. There were girlfriends around him. He felt that this freedom would not be interrupted by anyone. Lizzie turned around and reminded the mercenary that she had promised not to do anything during the school trip. Benji burst into tears when she heard this. The main character told his girlfriend not to provoke the mercenary. The mercenary grabbed the girl's cheeks with her hands and asked her not to put pressure on her. The main character told Victoria that everything looks as if none of this had happened before. Yuri looked at his girlfriend with excitement. Vicky looked to the side dissatisfied. Vicky was silent. She looked sadly to the side with her green eyes. The main character and his girlfriends approached a large building. He was pleasantly surprised. Lizzie told her interlocutor that her class was on a different schedule. Dahi was very angry at these words. The leader told her students that Class A should hurry up as they were leaving. Lizzie picked up the main character. She shouted to the girl that she had already been called. Dahi was very angry. She didn't like that her boyfriend was taken away right from under her nose. The girl angrily shouted to Lizzie that this was still not the end. She promised to return. Yuri looked at his girlfriend excitedly. Lizzie happily told the guy that the obstacle had disappeared. The girl looked at the main character and invited him to have a good time with a smile. Yuri was happy. He smiled at his girlfriend and agreed with her request. The main character was walking along the street with a girl. They tried different delicious foods. Lizzie was very pleased with her walk with the main character. Yuri thought they were having such a good time without Benji. Yuri felt very joyful. He enjoyed walking with the girl. The main character said that he wants his every day to be like this. At this time, suddenly a wooden needle pierced the wall. The guy and his girlfriends carefully examined the needle. He realized that they were aiming at him. Yuri looked at the needle in fear. He didn't know what to say. Lizzie turned around and looked to the side. The girl noticed how their familiar girlfriends were sitting very close to them. Lizzie clearly saw Benji sitting at the table and Victoria next to her. Lizzie grabbed the mercenary by the head and reminded her that she promised not to lie. The girl angrily demanded that the mercenary not pretend to be a fool. Yuri looked at everything that was happening with excitement. The girl angrily shouted to Benji that she would not forgive her for this. Lizzie swung and grabbed the mercenary's head with her hands. Benji's head suddenly fell off. Lizzie looked in surprise at the lifeless artificial body. She realized it wasn't Benji. Suddenly a very loud scream was heard from the side. Lizzie fearfully grabbed her friend to protect him. The main character was scared. He couldn't understand what was going on right now. Yuri noticed how the grocery seller began to take out a huge dagger. The guy couldn't understand why someone wanted to kill them everywhere. Lizzie angrily shouted that only Benji could have set such a trap. Vicky was holding the phone in her hand. She told her friends in a calm voice that she had already found out everything. Victoria said that in this place all the hired killers, they hunt Yuri voluntarily, and not under orders from the president. The main character could not understand why they were hunting him. Vicky showed her friends the message on her phone. There was information about the winner of the Royal Games. It was similar to the announcement that their clan sends out to assassins around the world. Lizzie read with great interest that the winner of the Royal Games was Yuri. The main character was very surprised. Victoria explained to her friends that Yuri was new to the world of assassins. The main character was scared. He didn't understand why he needed all this. Lizzie asked, "Why did Yuri become the winner? Is it just because he is the last man standing?" Vicky asked Lizzie, What is she going to do in such a situation? The girl decisively stepped forward. She had a proposal. Lizzie confidently told her interlocutors that they needed to find all the killers here and deal with them. Victoria asked her interlocutor if she could cope alone. Lizzie answered the girl that she trained in a clan of the best killers in the world. The girl pointed at the main character and said that she was most worried about him. Lizzie turned around. He silently and very slyly looked at his friends. The girl asked her friend to let Vicky look after her boyfriend in her absence. Victoria was surprised. She looked at her friend in surprise. Yuri smiled silently. Vicky looked at the main character in surprise. She didn't know what to say now. The mercenary was silent. She was very struck by such a request from her friend Lizzie. Vicky was walking along the street with the main character. She didn't understand what Lizzie wanted from her. Victoria was sitting in a cafe with a friend. She thought to herself that Lizzie should have been the one to protect her boyfriend. The main character told his girlfriend that he would be completely fine. The interlocutor answered the guy that he could easily be killed. Victoria told the main character that if she leaves him, it will end badly for her. The girl explained to the main character that he could cope with the hired killers himself. Vicky looked away. She told her friend that she would protect him anyway. Victoria looked carefully at the stranger who was standing in the room. Yuri looked at his girlfriend with great excitement. She looked carefully to the side. The main character asked the girl, "Why is she surprised?" "Vicky," I asked the main character, "what did he want from her?" The girl looked carefully in front of her. She noticed that the unfamiliar man had disappeared. Yuri said with a smile to the girl that there was nothing suspicious on the side. The main character thanked his girlfriend for helping him and Lizzie. Vicky told the guy that she was used to doing things for others. She added that she does not have her own job. Victoria complained to her friend that no one was interested in her at all. The main character told his surprised interlocutor that she could charm any person. The girl asked the guy dissatisfied, "What is he saying?" Yuri reminded his friend about the latest events. The main character told the dissatisfied girl that she was simply beautiful. Yuri told his interlocutor that she knows a lot and is very responsible. The main character told his shy girlfriend that if she went to his school, she would be very popular. Victoria felt very uncomfortable. She didn't know what to answer the guy. The girl jumped up and shouted angrily to the main character that it was time for them to go. Yuri asked his interlocutor where they should go. The girlfriend extended her hand to the main character and said that he wouldn't like it. The main character became worried. He realized that he would not want to go where Vicky was calling him. Yuri found himself near the exit to the backyard. He became worried and scared. The main character didn't like the fact that he and the girl would go to the women's bathhouse. The girlfriend told the main character to be quieter. Yuri pointed his finger at the door of the bathhouse and said that hiding here was inconvenient for him. The main character looked at the girl carefully. She seemed especially attractive to him. Vicky told the guy that this place has poor soundproofing. She added that they might be heard outside if he made noise. Yuri looked at his girlfriend with great embarrassment. I asked if he was listening to her. The girlfriend called the surprised protagonist by name. The guy was silent. Victoria felt embarrassed. She blushed and looked at her friend with excitement. The girl threw a wooden bucket at the guy. She asked him angrily, what was he staring at? Yuri looked at his excited girlfriend. He said she looks beautiful with her hair down. Vicky swung a brush at the guy. She shouted at him to stop talking nonsense with a perverted face. Yuri with a bucket on his head asked the girl how she could see his face. The main character asked his interlocutor why she undressed. Vicky explained that they were in the women's bathhouse and therefore she needed to act naturally if anyone saw them. The girlfriend told the main character to hide in the wardrobe. She promised that she would deal with anyone who entered this room. Yuri, I asked my girlfriend, what should I do if other girls come here while he is here? Vicky explained to the guy that it was unlikely that anyone would come in here, since she had hung a sign on the door that it was being cleaned inside. Victoria explained to the surprised guy that the sign said that cleaning was in progress. The main character and his girlfriend heard the voices of two girls who came in. A friend asked her interlocutor if they would have problems. The girl replied that if they were reprimanded, would they leave? Guessed I said that she sees that there is already someone in the water. My friend didn't understand why there was a warning sign at the entrance. Yuri was hiding in the water. His frightened girlfriend was sitting on top of him. The main character felt that it was getting harder and harder for him. He was short of air. Victoria very strictly asked her friend to be quiet. Vicky explained to the guy that if they were discovered now, it would be the end for them. Victoria looked with fear at the girls who came and said that there were a lot of people here. Vicky was even more frightened and surprised. She looked with fear at the arriving students. Victoria noticed how her friend Dahi appeared very close to her in the water. Dahi silently and with great surprise looked at Vicky next to her. Victoria looked at Dahi with a calm gaze. Below her in the water was the main character. Vicky, sitting in the water, excitedly thought to herself that Dahi might not recognize her. Victoria thought about it and realized that all this could end badly for her. The girl excitedly thought to herself that girlfriend could see the main character here. The girl excitedly told her friends that she could smell Yuri. Vicky became very worried after that. The girlfriend said dissatisfied to Dahi that the main character cannot be in the women's bathhouse. Dahi said displeasedly that she could even taste the main character in the water. The girlfriend said excitedly that the main character could be here and that would be a problem. Victoria said to herself in fear that the danger was very close. Vicky heard the voice of the main character. He asked in fear, "Is it all over?" Yuri jumped out of the water. He shouted to the girl in fright that he almost suffocated. Victoria grabbed the guy by the head and shouted at him to get back under the water. Vicky suddenly heard someone approaching her on the water from the side. Dahi looked with great attention at her friend and told her slyly that she was not mistaken after all. Yuri looked at his girlfriend in amazement. Dahi told the guy that he hid here at a very opportune moment. The girl looked at the guy and said that he had nothing to be ashamed of anymore. The girlfriend with a smile shouted to the main character that she would help him find out about everything. The main character was left alone with his familiar girls. He shouted in fear. The girl Lizzie beat up the mercenaries on the path. She realized that she heard Yuri scream. The girl became worried. She ran and realized that something had happened to her boyfriend. The girl ran and shouted to the guy as she walked that she would soon come to his aid. Yuri ran and carried his girlfriend in his arms. Victoria noticed that Dahi was running after them completely naked. The main character and the girl were climbing through the trees. He was in a hurry. Dahi ran at full speed to catch up with the fugitives. She destroyed a whole tree. Vicky noticed that their pursuer looked more like a combat android. Victoria warned the main character that the girl was gradually catching up with them. Vicky returned and continued to look at her pursuer with great excitement. The girl shouted to the main character to stop and give her the opportunity to get down. The main character shouted to his girlfriend to hold on. He added that he would figure it out himself. Yuri shouted to the girl not to say anything stupid. Victoria once again asked the guy to let her go. Yuri shouted in fear to his interlocutor that he was worried about her. He explained that the girl always helps others and then gets into trouble herself. The main character told his interlocutor that she would always be with him until the very end. Victoria turned her head to the side and looked at her friend with a smile. Vicky said sadly to her interlocutor that he was very reckless. The guy didn't understand what the girl meant. Yuri ran with the girl through the forest. He told her that he would agree with her. Victoria told the main character that this side of his character is not so boring. Suddenly my eyelids were very frightened. She realized that the guy had tripped over something. The main character, together with his girlfriend, began to fall to the ground with acceleration. Yuri and the girl fell and lay in the forest. It was night all around. The main character gradually came to his senses after falling at speed. Yuri was sitting on the ground. He looked at Victoria in front of him with great excitement. The main character justified himself to the girl and said that it was all just an accident. Dahi appeared nearby. She shouted to the angrily frightened guy that he could now play with her. The girl raised her hands up and shouted to the main character that they could create a new generation. Lizzie arrived in time. She kicked the girl off her feet in mid-flight with all her might. The main character was very happy to see his girlfriend next to him. He called her name. Dahi stood at a short distance and looked at the people with excitement. Lizzie said displeasedly that she walked away for a while and something was happening again. The girl came up and grabbed Yuri's head and Victoria next to him with her hands. Lizzie very sternly asked his interlocutors how they ended up together on this dark mountainside. Yuri and Victoria were very scared. The girlfriend demanded an explanation from them. The main character and the girl screamed in fear in the forest. Benji turned around and told her friend that she had been through a lot of trouble. Vicky thought about it and told her surprised interlocutor that she didn't regret it at all. Victoria dreamily reported that all this was not just trouble for her. Lizzie stood on the balcony and looked at the evening sky. She was alone. The girl looked at the moon in the night sky. At the same time she thought about something of her own. The girl Vicky appeared. She asked her friend, "What is she doing?" Lizzie was very unpleasantly surprised to see Victoria nearby. While walking, Dahi asked someone, "Where is the main character?" She was told that the guy was downstairs. Lizzie, standing on the balcony, said thoughtfully that the main character could do something with other boys. "Vicky, I asked my friend if she was worried about something again." The girl asked her interlocutor, "What does she mean?" Vicky asked the thoughtful girl if her worries were related to the main character. Victoria thought about it. She told her interlocutor that she was not sure. Yuri at this time was absorbed in a computer game on slot machines. Lizzie said that she is not sure if everything will remain as it is. Vicky looked at her friend and said that everything would be fine with her boyfriend. Vicky told her friend judiciously that she might have doubts because of all the recent events that had happened. Lizzie told the girl that her relationship with her boyfriend was going in circles. She added that something happens to Yuri and after that she rushes to his aid. Victoria told her strictly interlocutor that she began to get very nervous after the appearance of Dahi. Vicky told the girl that she was surprised that she went to assassin school with such a personality. Victoria slyly told the girl that a rival had appeared on her way. Now Lizzie doesn't know what to do. Vicky explained that the main character is as naive as possible. Victoria suggested that Yuri might just say something stupid to his girlfriend. The mercenary looked at the sky. She said it was normal to worry about this. "Lizzie, I asked my friend what exactly is normal to worry about." The main character appeared. His girlfriends were very much afraid of his arrival. Yuri excitedly asked the surprised girls, "What are they talking about?" The main character joyfully called his girlfriends by name. They were very surprised. The girl decided to justify herself. She told the guy that they didn't talk about anything. The girlfriend told the main character that he came just in time. She invited him to go to the festival. Victoria turned around and told her friends that she was leaving them. Yuri looked at his friend and suggested that she go with them. Lizzie was very angry. She hit her friend in the face with her hand. The main character asked the girl why she hit her friend. Lizzie said in fear that she didn't want this. Yuri looked at the girl with excitement and said that her face was red. He asked if she was feeling well. The main character pressed his girlfriend to his forehead. He said she didn't have a fever. The girl suddenly leaned back. She seemed dizzy. The main character called out to his girlfriend in fear. Lizzie was silent in response. Suddenly the girl swung her head with all her might and hit her friend. Yuri grabbed his head with his hand. Lizzie ran to the exit. At this time Victoria was lying on the floor. The girlfriend angrily demanded that the guy give her the opportunity to be alone with herself. The main character asked his girlfriend with interest, "Did he do something wrong?" Vicky told the other person to shut up. At this time, Lizzie was running along the street, which was full of people. The girl ran down the street under the light of the lanterns. She felt that it was already becoming difficult for her to breathe. Lizzie stood near the tree. She was breathing heavily. She didn't understand what had just happened. The girl remembered that the guy behaved normally. She didn't understand why she felt uncomfortable. Lizzie remembered to herself that she had always done something like this with her friend without any problems. The girl did not understand why all this began to happen to her. "Lizzie, I remembered the meeting with the main character." She could not understand why everything was like this. At this time, a girl suddenly appeared from behind. She looked carefully in front of her. Dahi stood and watched Lizzie's behavior with great attention. She was very interested. The girl told herself that after observing, she realized that everything was exactly like that. Dahi thought to herself joyfully that such a chance comes once in a lifetime. The girl came up and demanded that the main character get up. Dahi looked at her friend and said that she came again because she thought that something had happened again. The girl told the main character that something happened to Lizzie and he has no idea what exactly. Yuri thought to herself that the interlocutor said everything correctly. Dahi looked at the main character and told him to come with her. Yuri was worried about his girlfriend Lizzie. The girl asked the main character what he was going to do. She added that he doesn't even know what's going on with Lizzie. The girlfriend extended her hand to the guy and said that she would tell him everything if he went with her. Dahi grabbed the guy with her hand and pulled him with her across the room. She added that Yuri should take her for a short walk. Victoria was lying on the floor. She looked away without any emotion. Vicky looked at the people next to her. She decided that she should tell Lizzie everything. Lizzie sat very angry near the tree. She didn't know what to do next. The girl was very excited. She was shaking all over very much from strong feelings. Lizzie was very scared and excited. she didn't know what to do. She told herself that lately she no longer understands herself. The girl remembered her quarrel with her friend. She couldn't understand what was happening to her. Lizzie decided to herself displeasedly that her friend thought she was very strange. Vicky came up. She asked the girl, "Is she still in this condition?" Lizzie was very frightened by the appearance of her friend. Victoria answered happily that it was her. The girls talked to each other. The boy told his mother that there was someone next to them. Vicky told her interlocutor that she had ruined everything. She added that Yuri was very shocked by everything. Lizzie asked her interlocutor not to remind her of this. Victoria sternly told the surprised girl that she must return. Lizzie listened to her interlocutor with great excitement. She felt that she was sad. Victoria looked at her friend with excitement. Lizzie said dissatisfiedly that she didn't know why she was like that. The girl told herself that everything was very unclear to her and very scary. She added that she wants the best. Lizzie explained to her interlocutor in surprise that everything about Yuri no longer looks the same as before. Victoria felt lighter. She told the interlocutor that she understood what it was. Vicky told the surprised girl that she would feel it very soon. Victoria rose to her feet. She wanted to explain everything to her interlocutor in more detail. Vicky smiled and told the girl that she would feel the changes not soon, but finally. Lizzie asked her interlocutor what her words meant. Vike answered the girl that she herself would be able to understand everything. The girl demanded from her interlocutor that she not speak in riddles. Vicky answered displeasedly to the girl that now was not the time to worry about this. Victoria told her interlocutor mysteriously that she couldn't ruin the fun part. The girl thought deeply to herself. She realized that her friend was right. Lizzie wanted to ask Victoria what she meant. Vicky pointed her finger at her interlocutor and said that she would not tell her anything more. Victoria explained to the surprised girl that Dahi is now doing whatever she wants. Lizzie became very worried and angry. She realized that she needed to find the main character. Yuri was in the spectator arena at that time. He expected a fight between a girl and an athlete. The main character looked around happily. He didn't understand how it happened. The guy smiled and asked himself cheerfully, "Where is he looking?" An athlete in a red dress prepared to fight in the ring against an opponent. Yuri said dissatisfied to himself that he didn't know where he should look. The interlocutor told the guy to wait a little. She added that she would tell him everything after she won the first place prize. The girlfriend slyly looked at the main character and explained that she would tell him everything in a more private place. The athlete looked angrily at his opponent. He called her cute. The pumped-up man told the girl that she was too relaxed. The opponent said that in this place the strongest fighters in the city decide who is the strongest this year. The man explained to his interlocutor that this was the best place for her. He added that they had no time for love talk. The athlete swung her hand and hit her opponent with all her might. The girl angrily told the amazed man that she had no time for him. The spectators were very surprised. The athlete said that we need to finish this as soon as possible. Dahi smiled and said aside that she should win a lot of points. Dahi explained that she needed to win before Lizzie came back. At that time, the girl and Victoria were running along the roof. Lizzie ran with her friend. They noticed the place of the duel in front of them. The mercenaries had difficulty making their way through the crowd of people that was around them. Lizzie and Victoria stopped. They watched the battle in the ring with amazement. The girls saw their friend in a red dress showing something to people with her hands. Dahi stood next to her defeated opponent. One of the girls said that all this looked like some kind of event. Vicky said surprised that Dahi actually knows what she wants to do. The girls unanimously turned to the side and looked at the main character. He was surprised. Yuri asked the girl in surprise, where was she? He said that he was looking for her. Dahi was angrily surprised. She asked her rival why she was already here. Lizzie, I asked the girl what she was doing here alone with Yuri. The main character looked at his girlfriend with excitement. He called her name. Yuri asked the girl in surprise, what's wrong with her? He held her hands. Lizzie looked at her friend with great excitement. She decided that she was now feeling the thrill of love. Victoria spread her arms to the sides. Lizzie looked at her friend very dissatisfied. Dahi shouted at the angry girl that she was busy winning points. She told her interlocutors not to think about taking advantage of her work. The girl angrily shouted to her interlocutor that she was behaving stupidly because in the end she decided to take everything for herself. Lizzie was very angry. She shouted to the girl to watch her tongue. Yuri looked at his girlfriend with excitement. She extended her hand forward in front of her. Lizzie looked angrily at her rival and said that she would not allow this to happen again. Dahi looked at her opponent through the hole in the net with great excitement. Lizzie entered the ring. She asked the girl if she really wanted her to behave more naturally towards Yuri. The main character looked at his girlfriends with fear. Dahi told her interlocutor that she really has a little femininity. Lizzie reminded the girl that she wanted to win a prize in the duel. She added that if Lizzie wants to get the main character, she will have to defeat her. The athlete looked at the girl angrily and said that she understood what she was going to do. Dahi turned to the side and said that she was waiting for her rival to show what she was free to do. Lizzie, very scared and excited, noticed how Dahi suddenly jumped to the side. The girl tried to parry the blow. She felt that her opponent was very fast. Dahi swung her leg to hit the girl. She shouted that nothing had changed. The athlete angrily shouted to her opponent that she continued to bark, but did not bite. Dahi shouted that the girl challenged her because she was angry, not because she could handle it. The girl angrily shouted that her rival was doing everything only because she believed that she should do so. Dahi said dissatisfied that Lizzie herself doesn't even know why she likes the main character. Lizzie thought to herself in fear that she really didn't know what she liked about Yuri. The girl thought that she had decided that she should pay the guy for forgiving her. Lizzie continued to block her opponent's blows. She didn't understand why she was doing this. The girl thought she couldn't understand why she loves Yuri. Lizzie managed to block the blow near her head at the very last moment. She glanced to the side. The girl noticed how Vicky stood near the market next to the main character. Lizzie remembered the words of Victoria, who said that she finally understood what love is. Lizzie stood and continued to fight off her opponent's blows with all her might. Dahi felt a huge surge of strength. She decided to finish off her rival. Dahi struck the girl again and was suddenly very surprised. Lizzie was able to block the blow. She told her interlocutor angrily that she had never thought about it. The girl explained that she owes a lot to Yuri. For this reason she always believed that she should repay him in kind. Lizzie continued to block the girl with her hands. She said that she heard from someone that now their love begins. The girl squeezed her rival's hands with all her strength. Lizzie angrily told the athlete that she was not going to give her the most fun part. The spectators around the ring were very surprised. They did not expect such words from the girl. Dahi was very shocked and scared after being hit in the head. She was speechless. After a powerful blow, the athlete fell unconscious to the floor of the ring. Lizzie turned to the side. She noticed how joyfully the guy looked at her. Lizzie looked at her friend silently. She was pleased that the guy was happy. After a short pause, the girl smiled at her friend and showed him an optimistic gesture. The friend invited the main character to go with her. They decided to take a walk. The main character and his girlfriends were flying on board the airliner. Yuri sat next to his girlfriend. They slept. Dahi was sitting tied up on the next chair. Benji thought that a guy and a girl can always overcome anything. The mercenary turned back. She looked at her friends for a long time and silently. Benji looked at the guy and the girl. She decided that if they were together, it wouldn't be as bad as she thought. The mercenary looked at her friends. She decided that Yuri would be fine with Lizzie. Benji decided it was time to take a nap. Someone was watching her via video link. The secretary told the boss that they would arrive in less than 2 hours. There were guards around the leader. She told her subordinate that it was time to get ready. The woman said dissatisfied to herself that they should have done this from the very beginning. The boss looked very sternly at her subordinate. A green snake appeared on her neck. The main character told his girlfriends that by some miracle they got home safely. Yuri explained to his interlocutors that the trip was very eventful. He added that when they returned it was very difficult to get rid of the girl. The main character told his interlocutors that all this did not matter, since they were finally home. Lizzie's girl suddenly fell silent. She looked at the main character with great attention. The girlfriend abruptly threw the guy aside. He was very surprised and frightened. Suddenly, a strong explosion was heard near the entrance to the building. The main character was very scared. Yuri was very worried. He looked at his girlfriend lying on the ground. The girls were scared. They realized that someone had already been in their house before they arrived. The woman inside the building told Lizzie that her senses were indeed dulled. The stranger told the girl that previously she would have been able to easily notice the trap just by looking at it. The woman told strictly her interlocutor that she was supposed to become the successor, but she stooped low. The woman looked very angrily at the girl in front of her. She said she was very disappointed. Lizzie called the stranger mom. The main character was very amazed. Benji happily asked Elizabeth, "What is she doing here?" The woman replied that she had come to do what the mercenary could not do. Yuri stood scared next to his girlfriend. The woman said that she wanted to take her daughter back home. The main character was scared and worried. He did not know what to say to the unfamiliar woman. The girls wanted to somehow justify themselves to Elizabeth. The woman angrily shouted at her interlocutors to keep quiet. The woman blamed Benji strictly for not being able to return Lizzie, and therefore the mercenary decided to stay with the girl. Elizabeth told Benji that she would no longer leave it all to someone as incompetent as her. The girls were lying on the ground. The main character was very scared. He called his girlfriend by name in a broken voice. The girl asked her mother for forgiveness. She added that her father had already spoken about this. Lizzie looked at her mother very sternly. She wanted to tell her something again. The girl strictly and unequivocally informed Elizabeth that she would not return again. The woman was very surprised. She never expected such a stern answer from her daughter. Elizabeth came to her senses. She realized that her daughter would not agree to her conditions. The woman sternly told the girl that she was old enough to defy her mother. Elizabeth looked at her daughter angrily and said that it was very bad to ignore the words of her parents. The woman angrily called her surprised daughter a precious grizzly bear. Lizzie screamed loudly. The main character called out to his girlfriend in fear. Yuri couldn't understand what happened to his girlfriend. The woman told her daughter that she had not heard her full name for a long time. The main character asked his girlfriend in fear if she was okay. The main character was scared. At the last moment he realized that something had happened to his girlfriend. The girl reached out her hand and grabbed Yuri by the neck very unexpectedly. The main character whispered the girl's name with all his strength. He could barely look at her. Lizzie looked at her friend with an unseeing gaze. She seemed to be a stranger. Elizabeth explained to the guy that she had flipped the switch. Lizzie will no longer hear the main character. The girl held the guy by the neck with her hand. The woman said that Lizzie's true form is a prodigy from the Springfield clan. The main character felt that he was suffocating. The woman told the guy that he saw the true form of Lizzie, the Springfield grizzly bear, in front of him. Yuri felt that he could not escape from his girlfriend. It was hard for him. Lizzie looked at her friend with a glassy and unseeing gaze. Yuri shouted to the girl to wake up. He wanted to explain to her that he was her friend. Elizabeth explained to the guy that all his words were useless. The woman explained that the girl wouldn't just stop. The Springfield clan switch is not the same and simple. Elizabeth explained to the main character that right here and now he would become the first victim for this girl. At this time, a wiki suddenly appeared on the side. She decided to hit the girl in flight. Lizzie felt a huge and demonic power within herself. She prepared to fight back. Victoria looked at her ex-girlfriend with fear. She realized it was time to act. Lizzie threw the mercenary who attacked her aside with one blow. Victoria was surprised. She didn't raise. Did Lizzie become so obedient after she heard a few words? Vicky angrily shouted at her interlocutor to look who she was holding. The girl was holding the main character by the throat. Victoria shouted to her interlocutor that she was completely crazy. Lizzie was absolutely calm. She glanced blankly at her rival. At this time, Benji appeared. She decided to attack Lizzie with a strong punch. The mercenary realized that she needed to neutralize the girl as quickly as possible. Lizzie noticed how another rival appeared next to her. She turned towards her. Lizzie hit Benji with her hand as hard as she could. She flew to the side. The mercenary realized that her rival was very fast. She decided to continue fighting. Benji fearfully realized to herself that she did not have time to react. She held the main character in her hands. Victoria decided to help her friends. She rushed at Lizzie. The girl threw people far to the side with very powerful blows of her hands. Benji told the beaten people that they really thought they could do something if they tried. The mercenary told her interlocutors that they should be well aware. Lizzie is a pupil and daughter of their clan of assassins. Victoria said displeasedly that Lizzie's girlfriend constantly hid all this from them. The mercenary explained that Lizzie is not in this form. She can't use that much power. Vicky excitedly asked her interlocutor what kind of switch it was. Benji explained to her interlocutor that she should now concentrate on the main thing. Elizabeth sternly said that Benji took the side of the main character. The mercenary decided to justify herself to the woman. She decided to protect the guy. Benji explained to the woman that she did not want to take the side of the main character. She always wanted the best for Lizzie. The mercenary looked at Yuri. She explained to the woman that she had only recently changed her mind. Benji said that she only changed her mind after what she saw all this time. The mercenary explained that Lizzie needs such a guy as the main character. Benji added that Yuri gives the girl something that no one else can give. Victoria listened carefully to the mercenary. Benji explained to the woman that she could not simply eliminate Yuri. The mercenary said that Elizabeth would have to go through her completely first. The woman looked angrily at the interlocutor. She didn't know what to say. Benji took a fighting stance. She told the woman that they could start at any time. Elizabeth said calmly that she and Lisa would be returning. The woman said that she had not come to fight her own family. She added that she had completed her task. Elizabeth said that she would take care of the main character and Victoria after she returned home. Vicky was very excited. The woman told her daughter that it was time for her to go with her. Victoria looked at the mercenary standing next to her. Elizabeth said she was taking the girl where she belonged. Benji was very angry. She didn't want Lizzie to just leave now. The woman told her daughter that she was inviting her to her house. The mercenary looked at Elizabeth angrily. Elizabeth and Lizzie headed towards the gate. Guards walked next to them. The main character was left unconscious lying near the wall. He didn't have the strength to get up. Lizzie got into the car. She sat without any emotion and looked ahead. Victoria was very excited. She called out to her friend in a frightened voice. There was a mercenary nearby. Benji turned around and looked to the side in fear. She suddenly remembered about her friend. The mercenary was scared. She realized that the guy had just disappeared somewhere. The girl looked and saw a broken wall. She couldn't figure out where Yuri was now. At this time Elizabeth was driving with Lizzie in the car. They were both silent. The woman asked the girl with interest, why did she become quiet now? The woman told her daughter that she only wanted to show that she did not want to talk to her mother. Elizabeth put her hand on the girl's face. She said that none of this is so important. The mother told her daughter that she was not here to suck up to her. A car drove up to a private plane. Elizabeth told her daughter that she only wanted the best for her. The woman told the girl that they had finally arrived at the place. She added that there was no more time to waste and she needed to come back. The girl prepared to board the plane. Suddenly someone stopped her from behind. Lizzie turned around in fear. The guy said they didn't waste any time. The main character stood near the car. He said sternly that his girlfriend Lizzie would not go anywhere. Elizabeth and the guards stopped. They looked at the guy in surprise. Yuri told the woman with confidence in his voice that only she and her people would return. Elizabeth asked the guy in surprise, how could he follow them? The woman explained that the main character was caught in a car. It was very feasible. Elizabeth told the main character that he is very reckless. Yuri replied to the woman that she treated her daughter very badly. The woman explained to the guy that he could not see anything between mother and daughter. Elizabeth told the main character that all this has absolutely nothing to do with his world. Yuri told the dissatisfied woman that this was the third time he had heard this excuse. He asked her how much longer would her family repeat the same words again. At this time, Victoria and the mercenary were racing at full speed in a car. Yuri asked the woman if she really decided that Lizzie doesn't know all this or doesn't understand the seriousness of belonging to another world. The main character explained that Lizzie left not only because she was being strangled. The girl actually knew this well. The girl simply wanted to find someone who would create something more with her. Yuri explained that being together means overcoming the difficulties that people face. The main character explained to the woman that the other world is a difficulty that they must overcome. Elizabeth looked at the main character skeptically. She said that his words were very arrogant. The woman angrily set the girl to deal with the main character. Lizzie rushed at full speed to try to hit the guy. The girl swung her hand to knock down the main character with one blow on the move. Yuri very quickly and deftly dodged to the sides from his girlfriend's blows. The woman was very surprised. She couldn't believe that Yuri could dodge any attacks. Elizabeth looked carefully at everything that was happening. It all seemed impossible to her. The woman thought that the guy was able to emphasize something from his observations earlier. Elizabeth thought that an ordinary person could not resist Lizzie. The woman got angry. She didn't like that her daughter didn't listen to her at all. Elizabeth thought the children were very obnoxious. They are inattentive to those who want to help them. The woman took out a gun. She shouted that if the child could not do something, then the parent would finish his work. A shot sounded. The girl was scared. She turned around and noticed that a wound had appeared in her body. The guards were very scared. They couldn't believe that the woman shot her daughter. Lizzie stood calmly and silently on the ground. She couldn't move anymore. Blood from her wound began to drip onto the ground next to the girl. there was silence all around. Elizabeth was still standing and holding the gun. She silently looked at her daughter. Yuri hugged his girlfriend. He was very scared because she was wounded. Yuri fearfully called his girlfriend's name. He saw that she had a serious wound. Elizabeth pointed the gun at the girl and told her to step aside. The woman screamed in fear that the girl was able to turn off the switch herself. Yuri gently hugged his girlfriend. The girl called him by name. Blood dripped from the girlfriend's wound onto the ground. She said it was a difficult time for her. This time she had to do her best, but it was hard. Lizzie told the guy that she did it and didn't leave anything to him. The girl smiled at the main character and said that they did everything right together. She confirmed that she was back. Yuri hugged the girl to him very happily. He was very excited. The main character congratulated his girlfriend on her return. He said she did a good job. From the side, Elizabeth angrily shouted to the young people that she would not allow this and would not put up with it. The woman pulled the bolt of her pistol. She shouted that she would not let this happen. Benji was showing strange gestures at this time. The main character and his girlfriend decided that a mercenary could be scary if she was serious. Benji explained to the woman that it was all over from the moment Lizzie made her decision. The mercenary told the woman that her work as a mother to the girl was now completed. The main character was at home with the girls. One of the friends asked what time it was. Yuri told the girl that she had been sleeping for a very long time. Victoria told Lizzie that her clothes would fall apart if she ran so much. The girl said that this problem would be small for her compared to when her performance was falling. Dahi looked out the window. She told her friends that she came to them because they did not go out. The main character turned to the side. He noticed a calendar on the table. Yuri went to the calendar himself. He decided to study it carefully. The guy looked at the calendar. He realized that today was some kind of special day. One of the girlfriends called the guy and reminded him that they were late. The main character remembered that a whole year had already passed since the day Benji came to them.